Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
But one day when the mob was chasing him, he just snapped. Inside he was collected, intelligent, and quite ruthless, but no one knew that. He was the loser that had failed 3 times. Right now, he was currently running through the village with a paint bucket in one hand and a paintbrush in the other. The Hokage monument was brightly colored and vandalized, and now he was hungry. He felt someone behind him seconds too late, and then a sharp pain ripped through his shoulder midair. He was sent off course and he fell to the ground to hit on his back. He screamed again and arched his back as the kunai buried itself further into his shoulder, and then weakly pushed himself to his side to avoid the weapon going any deeper. He fell still after this, trying to stay conscious as the wounds slowly caused a puddle of blood beneath him. After a few minutes of this, his eyes slid shut and he fell limp, out cold from blood loss. Hyuk watched in satisfaction as the Kyuubi brat fell to the ground screaming in pain. They were told not to wound the boy in these prank situations, but the boy had run into the forest by the Uchiha compound. No one ever came here. He'd be able to get rid of the demon for good. He jumped down and he saw the demon's eyes close as he fell limp, and he gave a dark smile, before he pulled another kunai out and placed it at the demon's throat. It had just drawn a trickle of blood when he was hit with a rock and a voice sounded out, "Hey! Leave him alone, what's the big idea?" His head whipped up, already preparing to glare, and he saw the last Uchiha with another rock, already glaring. Damn it, if there was a witness, he couldn't finish. He couldn't kill the Uchiha, that would spell torture and then death when he begged for it. He pulled the kunai away and then glared at the Uchiha and jumped away. Sasuke immediately dropped his rock and ran over to Naruto. The blonde was his friend, though they kept it secret, and to see him about to be killed had been horrifying. Naruto was the only one who understood him and was strong enough to train with. The blonde was holding back for everyone else so that he would be placed on the same team as him. He reached down and quickly picked Naruto up, putting the blonde's arm over his shoulder and staggering back to the compound, where he lived despite the ghosts that he felt haunted him. Naruto stayed with him more often than not, whenever he got the chance, which was almost every night. He even helped the blonde with his pranks. Once he arrived back at his house, he gently laid Naruto on his side on the futon in the guest bedroom and checked him over. Finding the kunai the only main wound, he quickly grabbed some bandages and some warm water. He winced, "Sorry, Naruto." And he pulled the blade out with a strong yank. Naruto jerked and gasped, before he fell still again and Sasuke set to work. He wiped the blood away to see Naruto's natural healing ability kick in with some steam. Since it wasn't all the way healed yet, he wrapped it in bandages and tied them tightly. He pulled off Naruto's now bloodied jumpsuit top and the black shirt underneath it before he went to the little dresser Naruto kept here in his temporary room. He pulled out a new t-shirt and slipped it on his friend and then stepped back to clean up the mess that he'd just made. Once everything was cleaned up, he left Naruto to rest. He knew his friend would heal just fine. He'd come here many times beaten and bloody from angry drunks and he'd been fine in the morning. That was why Sasuke was so good with medical procedures. He glanced at the unconscious blonde one last time and then he was gone. Naruto walked through a sewer system, looking around in curiosity. Where was he? He finally reached a dimly lit section that had a giant cage and there was a person standing in front of the cage. He walked closer and the person turned to reveal itself to be a boy of about 16. The boy had white hair, which was down to his mid-back, held in a low ponytail and spiky. His eyes were deep red, ringed with violet. His skin was pale. His fingers were long and calloused, proof of the frequent use of weapons. His body was lean, lithe with wiry muscles hidden in his tall frame. His clothes were notable as well. He had a leaf hite tied around his forehead and he wore enbu-like gauntlets that went to his elbows and covered the back of his hands up to his elbows with metal. He was wearing loose black pants that were long and tucked into his ninja sandals to billow at the bottom, much like the nobles' hakamas did. His shirt was actually 2 shirts. He had a loose, long-sleeved, black shirt that had a V-neck. Below his first shirt was another shirt. This one meshes was revealed when the verses was filled in with the mesh. A long katana with a blue sheath completed his look, making him look very deadly indeed. He stopped and the boy smiled. Hello, Naruto. I've been waiting for you. Waiting for me? Why? Where are we? We are in your mind. I am waiting because you are me and I am you, but that could not be until you met me. What do you mean? I am the soul of your past life. My name was Naruto Senju. Your name was Naruto too? That's weird. Indeed, but I guess our soul just likes that name. So if you're the soul of my past life, why are you in here? This is your mind, your soul. I was here, waiting for you to visit me. Once you visited me, we could bind together and be what we were meant to be. Well, I'd still be me, right? Yes, you would. You would only change a little with my memories. Well, what do we do? Just hold still. Naruto nodded and held still, and the older Naruto suddenly slammed his hand into the younger's chest. Younger Naruto gasped and then older Naruto started dissolving as younger Naruto started getting memories in his head. After a few minutes, older Naruto was gone and younger Naruto collapsed to the ground, exhausted. The first thing Naruto noticed when he finally woke up was the smell of ramen. This, of course, sent him shooting up quickly and raising his nose for the smell. Realizing that it was coming from downstairs, he pulled the blankets from covering his lower half. He stood and looked down to make sure he was dressed, and once assured he was, he started downstairs towards that delicious smell. He reached the kitchen to see an amusing sight. Sasuke was wearing a black apron with little red fans on it and making ramen in a pan. The Uchiha looked up as he walked in the room and then his black eyes widened in shock. Is that you, Naruto? Naruto cocked his head with a frown. Yeah, are you feeling okay? Naruto, go look in the mirror. But why? You'll understand when you get in there. Naruto's face scrunched up in confusion and he went to the bathroom, leaving Sasuke to finish cooking. He reached the bathroom and looked in the mirror, only for his eyes to widen in shock. What? He had changed completely with his new memories. Now he looked more like his old self than he'd thought he would. His hair had lightened to almost white, though it was still a bit yellow. It was down to his mid-back and extremely spiky. Now he knew why his older self had kept it in a ponytail. His eyes were different as well. Starting from the pupil out, they were red that faded to violet that then faded to their original bright blue. His body had also lengthened and become lean with wiry muscles, much like his old life. His posture screamed, dangerous, and he now looked older. All his baby fat was gone, leaving his face long with high aristocratic cheekbones. He was left looking about 14 instead of 12. He stretched and sighed as he saw that his shirt, which had been too big, was now almost too small. It was tight to his body, which he could see had become quite firm. His pants had already only gone to the middle of his shins, but now they looked more like capris. He would have to rectify his choice of wardrobe. Looking at the orange made his eyes hurt, and his chest. He couldn't believe he'd actually worn these. It broke his heart to see how much of an idiot everyone saw him as. Though he would keep it for now. He still wanted to be put on Sasuke's team after all. Speaking of Sasuke, he looked a hell of a lot like Izuna. He got the familiar pang in his heart when he thought of his old childhood friend. He remembered Izuna's death, his funeral. He had been mad at his dad for days after Izuna had died, blaming him for his friend's death. After a while though, he'd realized that his dad hadn't had a choice and that it had been an accident. He'd forgiven his dad after that, but he still mourned Izuna even now. With Sasuke's familiar face, he had to be a direct relative of the other Uchiha. He shook his head of his sad thoughts and then used a hairbrush from Sasuke's bathroom. Why he had that, Naruto didn't know. Wasn't his hair too short? And brushed his spiky hair, trying to tame it. It didn't work and he resolved to get a hair tie as soon as possible. He sighed and set the hairbrush down, before he headed back towards the kitchen. He reached it and Sasuke was just making bowls. The Uchiha looked up. See what I mean? Yeah, I see what you mean. So, what? Sasuke scowled. Explanations. You know that. Naruto gave an innocent face. How was I supposed to know? Sasuke then spoke in a warning tone. Naruto. Naruto sighed. Fine. This may sound utterly crazy, but I am a reincarnation. A reincarnation? Yes, of a person named Naruto Senju, the only son of Tobirama Senju, the Nidaime Hokage. I was so close to dying earlier that I was brought together with my past life and we merged. You're a reincarnation? Of a Senju? Yes. I don't believe you. Naruto huffed and then smirked and clapped his hands. Sasuke looked at him in confusion until a tree root rose from the ground and wrapped around the Uchiha, effectively trapping him. Naruto gave a triumphant smile, proof. Sasuke's jaw dropped and then he sighed and slumped, I see. You're just as odd as ever. Alright, I believe you. Can you let me go? My food's getting soggy. The roots sunk into the ground again. It wasn't a well-known fact that Naruto Senju had, in fact, held the ability to use the Mokuton, but he did and had trained with his uncle Hashirama on it, agreeing to keep it a secret advantage. Sasuke sat down in his chair and Naruto grabbed his chopsticks and started eating immediately, famished from almost dying. Sasuke just rolled his eyes, I guess my food's good, and started eating his own. Sarutobi was sitting in his office a few days later looking over the graduates from the academy and making teams when his door busted open and Naruto came in, looking pissed. He looked up, lighting his pipe. What's wrong this time, Naruto? What's wrong? What's wrong? What has this village come to? What the hell kind of graduation test was that? I could have passed that with my arms tied up and my eyes blindfolded. Do you want them to die on their first real mission? Sarutobi actually eeped from the killer intent coming off of the blonde, dropping his pipe. Naruto, what are you talking about? Why are you so angry? Naruto eyed him with his odd red, blue, and purple eyes, and Sarutobi felt a horrible premonition. That long hair was familiar. That color of red in his eyes was familiar. That killing intent was familiar. Now, Sarutobi felt a horrible suspicion he had was right and he was scared. The great god of shinobi, third Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, was scared. He had a feeling that someone he feared had come to haunt him after being dead for 60 years. Naruto's eyes glowed like a demon's and he seemed to tower over Sarutobi as he spoke in a deadly cold voice. Now, Saru-chan, tell me why my father's standards have been completely overridden and destroyed. Why, pray tell, are we trying to kill off our population? Sarutobi shrunk. Naruto-sensei? Yes. Sarutobi's eyes widened. Oh shit. He was screwed. He knew he should have cut the civilian council off long ago. Wait, maybe he could shift this to them and they would get utterly decimated by the pissed Senju in front of him. The civilian council Hashirama-sama made has been slowly stealing my power with petty decrees. They changed the standards. Please don't kill me. It was them. Naruto eyed him a moment and then shrunk and his eyes stopped glowing. I will fix it. I expect you to gain your power back, Saru-chan. That test was pitiful. I can't believe that it degraded to those simple 3 jutsus. It's pathetic. Sarutobi gave a sigh of relief as the killer intent was lifted and then eyed Naruto warily. So, how did you come back? Naruto Uzumaki was my reincarnation and when he was attacked and almost killed a few days ago, our memories merged and became one. I can assure you however, that I have not lost my prowess in battle. I already tested it on the route Anbu Danzo tried to send after me yesterday. Sarutobi paled. Oh god. We're all screwed. Konohagakure is about to get a wake-up call, isn't it? Naruto gave a dark smirk. Yes, it is. By the way, I expect to be on Sasuke's team. Other than that, I don't care. Ino Shikacho would also be good. Sarutobi nodded and leaned forward, a bit more relaxed now that his old sensei wasn't radiating pure killer intent. I will take your advice. Is that all you wanted? Yes, it is. I'll be at the team listings tomorrow. Good day, Saru-chan. Sarutobi nodded and Naruto was gone in a blur of shunshin. As soon as he was gone though, Sarutobi banged his head on his desk. Oh, we are all screwed. The best I can do is try to avoid Sensei's anger. He shuddered. Sensei was on a whole new level when he was angry. Even he couldn't stand that type of killer intent. What he'd just seen, he knew was only the tip of the iceberg. Konoha was screwed. The next day Naruto was indeed at team listings. He had, as soon as he'd graduated, gleefully burned all the orange jumpsuits with a fire jutsu Sasuke had needed a target for. He had immediately gotten new clothes similar to his old ones. The long, wide, flowing, black pants had definitely been once again added to his wardrobe. His shirt had changed however. Now, he wore a skin-tight mesh, no-sleeved shirt under a loose dark blue shirt with wide flowing sleeves that hung off of his wrists and his customary metal-plated Anbu gloves. He had gone to the Senju compound, which was sealed with a blood seal, and went to the old weaponry, where he'd found his old katana, named Shirayuki. It was a long katana with the abilities to conduct elements. His father's Raijin no Ken was similar, except that it conducted lightning. Shirayuki conducted water and ice. Shirayuki was currently tucked into the black and blue sash he was wearing wrapped around his waist. His Hite-8 was tied around his forehead and his hair was once again in a low spiky ponytail. His eyes were chips of ice as he looked around the room at the pitiful genin. None of them had even noticed that he was here except for Sasuke. He wasn't even trying, for God's sake. He was just being quiet and staying still, the only movement his eyes darting around the room. Once everyone was there, Iruka walked in. "All right, class, quiet down. I know you're excited." His voice was overridden and he was about to use his big head jutsu when killing intent flooded the room and Naruto's cold voice echoed through the now dead silent room. "Your superior is trying to speak. Hold your tongues." The killing intent receded and he leaned back, propping his feet up on the desk as everyone turned to him. He cocked an eyebrow. "Yes?" Kiba glared at him. "Who the hell are you? What was that?" "That was a small dose of killing intent, and as for my identity, who do you think I am?" Shikamaru's head rose up with a mutter of troublesome and looked at him with a scrutinizing eye before turning to Kiba. "It's Naruto, idiot." "Troublesome, now my nap's ruined. Why do you have to piss him off?" Kiba's jaw dropped and then he grew angry. "There's no way that's Naruto. Naruto's a loser." Naruto scoffed. "Deception is a ninja's greatest tool." Iruka's eyes widened and Naruto turned back to the front of the room. "Might we continue, Iruka-sensei?" Yeah. Alright, here's the new teams." Naruto just snorted as he looked at the time. Their new sensei was late, 3 hours late. He'd fix this. He stood. "I'll be back." Sakura immediately shot up. "You can't leave, Naruto baka. We'll get in trouble." Naruto just eyed her with a cold eye. "Shut your mouth. You annoy me." He heard Sasuke snort and then he was gone in a shunshin. He quickly searched the village until he found the silver-haired man from the bingo book standing at the memorial stone. His eyes narrowed at the perverted book held in Kakashi's hand, but he set it aside and grabbed the Junin by the back of his shirt. He dragged him through the village, ignoring his perverted giggles until he reached the academy. He walked straight up the wall, leaving Kakashi slightly stunned, and then threw him in the window. "I'm back. Here's our new sensei. Watch out Sakura, he's a pervert." Sakura's eyes narrowed at the word pervert and Kakashi smartly put away his book. "My first impression of you is, you're boring. Roof in 5 minutes." Then he was gone. Naruto scoffed and grabbed Sasuke, leaving Sakura, and walked up the side of the building. He reached the roof and set Sasuke down, turning to Kakashi to see his book out again. His eye twitched. "If I see that book, I will burn it. And trust me, I can. Ask Saru-chan." Kakashi eyed him and Naruto's eyes narrowed as he started performing a fast set of seals. Kakashi's eye widened and Naruto put his hand to his lips. "Fire style, great fireball." Kakashi's eye widened further and he quickly dodged the blast of flame, landing about 5 feet away. He abruptly found himself unable to move his feet and he looked down to see roots steadily creeping up his legs and holding him still. Naruto walked up to him. "Now put the book away." Kakashi put it away and Naruto gave an innocent smile. "That's better, Kashi-chan. I don't want to see it out again. 'Kay? Good boy." And he patted the Junin's head like a dog. The roots disappeared and Kakashi quickly scurried away to the other side of the building. "You scare me." "I scare the Hokage. Please, you're nothing." Kakashi eyed him suspiciously and sat down, waiting for Sakura. Sasuke hid a chuckle at Kakashi's wariness. This was going to be amusing. Kakashi reached the meeting for the new Junin instructors and Sarutobi leaned forward. "First impressions starting at Team 1? They're going to fail. Team 2? Same. 3? Ditto. 4? As well." Sarutobi sighed. This was going to be a bad batch. 5? Yes. 6? Fail. 7? They scare me. Everyone turned to Kakashi with wide eyes and Sarutobi spoke. "What, Kakashi? They scare me. Mind explaining? They are horrifying." Sarutobi's eyes lit up and then he winced. "Oops, I forgot I gave you Naruto. My advice is to let him do his own thing. You'll regret it if you don't." Kakashi's eyebrow rose, as did all the other Junins. Asuma spoke. "Why, might I ask?" Sarutobi turned to him. "You know my old sensei, the really scary one? The one that shares the same name as Naruto?" Asuma paled. "Oh dear God. Please don't tell me. He came back pissed." Yes. Asuma paled further and his cigarette dropped as he shivered in fear. His father had told many stories of the scary Naruto Senju. If that kid could scare his father, still scare his father, they were all fucked. You're sure it's him? I am sure. Dear God. God help us all if he's on a warpath. Indeed. Now, continue. Team 8? Might pass. 9 is still in circulation. 10? Might pass. 11? Might pass. 12? Might pass as well. Thank you. Good luck on your tests tomorrow. Oh, and Kakashi, under any circumstances, do not tell Naruto to come after you with the intent to kill. You won't live to regret it. Kakashi turned extremely worried at this and nodded. Alright, I won't. Thank God. I don't want to replace you. You may go. Iruka frowned. They can't go on a C rank yet, Hokage-sama. They're not ready. Sarutobi sighed. Example please, send Naruto? Naruto nodded and then the room was flooded with killer intent and Iruka cowered. Naruto pulled it back and fell back into his nonchalant position. Even Kakashi looked a bit shaken. Sarutobi looked at Iruka. I think that they're ready, Iruka. Don't you? Iruka was still speechless, so the Hokage threw the mission scroll at Kakashi, escort mission to the wave. You're guarding a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna. Tazuna, come in. The door opened and an old man that smelled of sake came in, guzzling more sake. Naruto sneered at the overwhelming scent of alcohol and the sake bottle was knocked to the ground by a well-aimed kunai, where it shattered. Naruto glared at the man. I smell the alcohol on you, old man. It disgusts me. I will not tolerate it. You're my guard. You have no say, Gaki. Sarutobi paled in horror and he quietly backed against the wall as Naruto stalked forward. He reached the bridge builder and spoke in a deadly quiet voice. What did you say? I do hope you weren't insulting me. Tazuna paled at the killer intent that went over him. And no, IW wasn't, Mr. Ninja sir. Naruto eyed him with his unnerving red eyes and then backed away. That's what I thought. Sarutobi slipped back into his seat and cleared his throat. Ahem, yes. Do you take the mission, Kakashi? Kakashi nodded. Yeah, we'll take it. Good. Tazuna wishes to leave within 2 hours. Kakashi nodded. Gate in an hour, team. Pack for a month-long trip. We don't know how long it will take. They nodded and then they were gone. What is that, Sakura? It's my bag. Naruto's eye twitched. It's a suitcase. It's a month-long trip. You don't need a suitcase. What the hell kind of kunoichi brings a suitcase with her on a mission? I have to stay beautiful for Sasuke-kun. You wouldn't know. Naruto's eye twitched again and then he took a deep breath. I will let you know that we will not help you carry that. It's all on you. Sasuke-kun will help me. Won't you, Sasuke-kun? No. What? Why not? It's a suitcase. It's your suitcase, not mine. I brought a single bag. Naruto brought a single bag. Kakashi brought a single bag. No one but you brought a suitcase, therefore it's your problem. Sakura's jaw dropped. But. Naruto cut her off. No, it's your problem. Deal with it yourself. Kakashi arrived. Are we ready to go? Naruto eyed the puddle and he saw Kakashi do the same. As soon as they were past it, 2 nins jumped from it and wrapped a chain around the junin and tightened. Kakashi, or rather his kawaramide logs, exploded in a spray of blood. The nins laughed, one piggy down. They tried coming for Naruto next, but he smoothly drew Shirayuki and slashed through them as they went past him. Their eyes widened as blood sprayed across the clearing and Naruto shook the blood from his blade before he turned and it was at Tazuna's throat. Explain, now, or we have one less client. Tazuna paled. It's Gato. We're building the bridge and Gato doesn't want it finished. But Wave is too broke to pay for a higher ranked mission. We had to. Please don't quit. I'll die. I don't care if you die. You lied. They're but children that haven't even killed yet. If we continue and either one of them dies, I take it out on your head. Do you understand? Yes. Kakashi jumped down as Naruto moved his blade away. I was going to say something similar, but Naruto has covered the bases. The question is, do we continue? Sakura gave an immediate no, but Sasuke thought a moment and then looked at Naruto. Do you think we can handle this mission, Naruto? With me on the team, yes. Do you want to? Sasuke seemed to weigh things out in his mind and then he nodded. Yeah, I'll continue. Naruto was silent a moment, then, I go where Sasuke goes. What do you want to do, Kakashi? Kakashi looked at him. Then his blade. Who are you really? Naruto. Not an answer. Even the Hokage is afraid of you. Fine, Naruto Senju. The only son of Tobirama Senju. Naruto Uzumaki almost died and so my old memories surfaced and I bonded with them. Kakashi paled. You're Naruto Senju? Dear God. No wonder Hokage-sama was afraid of you. Now I understand why he said not to tell you to come after me with the intent to kill. Naruto nodded, indeed. Now, shall we continue or no? If you're really that Naruto, then we'll continue. Alright then. It's your lucky day, bridge builder. Let's go. S-class nin incoming, Kakashi. I sensed him, Naruto. Understood. Naruto heard whirling and he immediately spun and grabbed Sakura and Sasuke's head. Get down. Kakashi pushed Tazuna to the ground and a huge sword impacted the tree nearby, sinking into the bark at least 6 inches. Naruto eyed it. Zabuza Momochi, the bloody demon of the mist. That was Kabikirabocho. This mission just got a lot more dangerous. A man landed on the sword. Well done. You sensed me. You won't be so lucky again. Naruto let out a cold laugh. Really? We won't? That's rich, coming from you. The man who was lucky enough to be able to kill his entire class of genin. Lucky enough to have training in the use of the sword beforehand. So you know of what I did and yet you're not afraid? Of you? As if. I've met far scarier people than you, far more talented and fearsome. You're just a baby demon. Zabuza growled at him. Who the hell are you to say such things to me, genin? A rank is only a title. You have no idea how much I've been holding back. How about we find out? Kakashi spoke up, but Naruto, he's extremely dangerous. Naruto smirked, so is Madara, but I sparred with him all the time, that is until he left the village. Kakashi's eye widened. He'd forgotten who this Naruto really was. Okay, he's yours. Naruto nodded and stood up, cracking his neck and then giving a dark smile. Let's dance, Zabuza Momochi. The next few minutes were filled with the sound of metal on metal and the sound of the splashing of water clones that were destroyed. Soon exhilarated laughter echoed as well and then Naruto's voice, someone who knows how to fight. Everyone else is pathetic, but this is a real battle. I agree, kid, this is the most fun I've had in ages. More clanging and then a cry of pain and Zabuza fell to the ground with a gash across his chest. Naruto landed and brandished Shirayuki with a dark light in his eyes. I shall be your executioner, Zabuza Momochi. Suddenly, 2 senbon sped from the tree and pierced Zabuza's throat and he fell to the ground limply, dropping Kabikirabocho in the process. Naruto's eyes narrowed as a Hunter Nin came down and took the body and weapon away without a word. Hunter Nin burned the body on the spot. They did not take the body with them. Oh well, he'd get a good fight later on. He sheathed Shirayuki and turned to the others. He's not actually dead, but he's gone now. So, where are we going? Tazuna stepped forward. We can go to my house. You are welcome to stay there until your mission is done. Kakashi nodded. We'll take it. Lead the way. I need to talk to Naruto. Tazuna nodded and took the lead and Kakashi fell into step next to Naruto, whose eyes were darting around looking for enemies. So, Naruto. Have fun? Best fight I've had in a while. I'm hurt. Your genin test wasn't challenging? Naruto deadpanned. No, it wasn't. You're an excellent fighter, I'm sure, but you hold back when training and that is simply not enough to challenge me. Kakashi pouted and then gave an eye smile. Well, we'll have to have a real spar sometime then. Yes, we should. When we get back. Sure, then it's planned. Naruto estimated a week until Zabuza was back up, so he decided to spend that time training Sasuke. Currently, they were in the backyard and Sasuke was attempting tree walking. He was making progress, albeit slow progress. Sakura had refused to train, much to his disappointment and expectations, but Naruto cast it aside. If the foolish girl wanted to die, then she would. It wasn't his problem. It had been her choice. Sasuke fell again. Damn it. Why can't I get it? Naruto stepped forward. You keep getting blown off. Try using just a small bit less chakra. Just think, once you're done with this, I'll teach you water walking. Water walking? Just like tree walking, except with water. Sasuke's eyes lit up with a new determination and he went back to the tree. Naruto decided to sit down and meditate. He crossed his legs and slipped into a meditative state easily, relaxing. His senses spread out to cover the ground around him. Every living thing came into his range for the next mile and a half. He was at peace. Sasuke finally managed to finish the tree walking exercise and he sat on a tree branch and looked down at his friend to see him sitting completely still with his eyes closed. He watched in interest as small plants formed from the ground around him. All the nearby flowers bloomed. All the leaves in the tree seemed to turn greener. The birds seemed to start singing. Ferns started growing thicker. The animals became louder. The small plants around Naruto grew taller and flowers formed on them. Sasuke watched with wide eyes. To be so in tune with nature was a great accomplishment that only Hashirama Senju had ever been able to do. After a few minutes, Naruto opened his eyes to reveal a green line glowing around the edges of his irises. It disappeared quickly and the plants stopped growing, though they stayed there, tall and proud. Naruto looked up at him and smiled. "You finished?" "Yes, I did." Naruto stood. "Do you want to start on water walking now or later?" "There's a pond nearby." Now. We still have an hour until dinner." Naruto nodded and led him towards where he'd sensed water. After making sure there wasn't anything unsavory living in the water, he walked out onto the surface. The trick is that water is not a stable surface. Because of this, you need to constantly fluctuate the amount of chakra in your souls. This will probably take a few days to get, but it's well worth it, especially in wave country where water is everywhere. Sasuke nodded and slowly placed his foot on the surface of the water. He put chakra on his soles and took a step out cautiously. He had made it a step and a half when he fell in with a splash. Naruto hid a small smile and sat down on the surface of the water to observe. People like Kakashi liked people to figure out what they were doing wrong on their own, but Naruto liked to point out small problems and interact with his student, if he could call Sasuke that. Sasuke fell in again and Naruto watched closely as the chakra went into the boy's soul. After he had splashed in once more, Naruto spoke, "You're making a solid layer of chakra on your souls. Try making it fluctuate." Sasuke glared at him and then tried it and made it 3 steps this time. Naruto nodded. "Perfect." It was a soaking wet Sasuke and a proud Naruto that entered Tezuna's house that night. Sasuke had already made 5 steps, a monumental achievement for just starting, and he only showed that he would improve further quickly. Kakashi looked up and eyed Sasuke. Naruto cracked a smile. "Water walking. As you can tell, we're just starting." Kakashi's eye widened. "What about tree walking?" He got it in a few hours and wanted to go straight to water walking. Kakashi gave an eye smile. "I see. Well, good job, Sasuke. Where's Sakura?" Naruto sneered. "She refused to train with us." "I have no idea. I tried getting her to join, but she didn't want to learn from the loser." Kakashi sighed. "That girl is going to be the death of me. She has no idea what it means to be a kunoichi." Naruto nodded. "Yes, I've seen. It's pathetic." Sasuke, on the other hand, lives up to the name genius. He's already made 5 steps on the water. Kakashi's eyebrow rose. 5? Already? That is impressive. Naruto nodded and turned to Sasuke. "Would you like to go get on dry clothes before dinner?" Sasuke nodded and they headed up the stairs. They reached the boys' room and Sasuke stepped in, only to shout and run out seconds later, "Help!" Naruto's eyebrow rose and then Sakura ran out with makeup on and her hair brushed perfectly, wearing very revealing clothes. Naruto sighed as he saw Sasuke dodge and then the hall was filled with killer intent, all aimed at Sakura. She paled and cowered and Naruto spoke with glowing red eyes. "This is what you were doing instead of training. Do you want to die? You think looks are more important than your life? You're a fool. If I see this again, I will request you be removed from the ninja program and I am very influential with the Hokage. Do you understand?" She nodded, shaking in fear, and the killer intent was gone. She immediately ran from the hallway and Naruto pinched his nose. "There you go, Sasuke. You may change now." Sasuke nodded. "Thanks, Naruto. I got in there and she tackled me and tried pulling off my shirt." Naruto shuddered. "If there's one thing I despise with a passion, it's fangirls. I've had experience." Sasuke's eyebrow rose. "Experience?" "Yes, the only son of the second Hokage, who was 16, straight, and sported an athletic build. I was mobbed with fangirls. Until I told them all I was gay and they ran away. They came back of course, but I got a month free." Sasuke chuckled. "Gay? Yes, I see. Maybe I'll try it. Feel free, but it doesn't work. Go ahead and get change. I'll wait out here just in case." Sasuke nodded and went back into the room to change. Naruto heard footsteps and he turned his head to see Inari, the client's grandson, coming down the hall towards him. He looked at the little Gaki. Is there something you need? Why are you here? Excuse me? Why are you here? You're just going to die. Am I really? I died once and I came back to life. You don't think I can do so again? I'm from 60 years in the past. Inari's eyes widened. The past? Yes, my old name was Naruto Senju. I was feared by everyone I came across. I've dealt with mob leaders before. Gato will be no different. I've heard of your dad, but I won't be like him. Inari grew angry. He was a hero and he was cut down. What makes you think you can do it? I'm not a hero. I'm a person hired to assassinate someone and I've never failed in an assassination. That's why I will succeed. I am not a hero. I am a killer that hides in the shadows and strikes when you least expect it. Inari's eyes widened and his face fell into thought. You mean that heroes don't exist? No, that's not what I meant. I know some heroes. My uncle was one, but I am not. It takes great courage to be a hero. It's up to you to decide what to do with your life. No one else can change it. Pretend like Gato isn't there, because he won't be when I'm done. You think I can be hero? Do you think you can be a hero? That's the question. Just then, Inari was called for dinner and he looked at Naruto. Are you coming? When my teammate's done changing. He was learning to walk on water today. Walk on water? Inari. Dinner. Naruto nodded. Yes. Can you show me? Inari? Dinner. Tomorrow. Go on down before your mom gets mad. Alright, I'll keep you to that, Mr. Ninja. I'll remember. Inari. Coming mom. Naruto had a sense of foreboding. That was never good, not for him. It always proved true. They were going to guard the bridge and he had left clones at Inari's house to guard them just in case. When they reached the bridge, the scent of blood permeated the air. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Zabuza is here. Stay on guard. Kakashi nodded. Naruto, you and Sasuke take his accomplice. Sakura, guard Tazuna. I'll take on Zabuza. Naruto hesitated a moment and then nodded. Alright. Don't die. That'd be hard to explain to Saru-chan. Only you would call the Hokage that. I won't die. Good. Naruto dodged another hail of senbon and his eyes darted around the ice dome. This was an impressive jutsu, he had to admit. However, he could probably replicate it with Shirayuki's help. That was not the problem at the moment. The problem was that he couldn't follow the nin through the mirrors, she was too fast. Both him and Sasuke were littered with senbon and a few had caused his muscle reaction to slow. However, he was not Naruto's Senju if he couldn't find a way to beat his opponent. He heard a cry and looked to see Sasuke clutching his arm, which was useless by his side now. He saw a flash of red and his eyes widened. Sasuke had awakened the Sharingan. He felt some senbon pierce through his neck, barely missing any vital spots, and he cursed softly as blood trickled from his lips. Sasuke saw him and then his red eyes widened and he rushed forward. Naruto looked around and saw a hail of senbon coming and he gasped as he realized Sasuke's plan. He was too late however, as Sasuke jumped in the way. His eyes widened and he saw Sasuke stagger and cough up blood. The Uchiha fell backwards and he caught him quickly. You idiot. I could have dodged those. What were you thinking? Sasuke focused on him. I wasn't. My body moved on its own. I promised to stay alive and kill my brother. Please. Naruto. Don't let your dream die. Naruto's eyes widened as Sasuke's closed. The Uchiha's hand fell to the side and his head tipped sideways as more blood trickled from his lips. Naruto felt anger building up. Not again. Not another Uchiha. Not another Izuna. I won't. His head whipped up to look at the nin and he felt evil chakra flowing through his coils. The fox. The fox's chakra. I'll kill you. You took him. You took my brother. You're dead. Roots burst from the ground, smashing through the ice mirrors. Naruto felt the chakra trying to take over his reason, but he shoved it to the side and took the power for himself, overwhelming the fox's influence. The mirrors shattered and Naruto roared loudly. You took him. You're dead. I'll rip you to shreds. He set Sasuke down and he was gone in a red blur. Haku's eyes widened under her mask as she felt a presence behind her, before blinding pain in her back as Shirayuki cut through her. Her body fell to the ground and Naruto flicked the blood from his blade with a red glare. He had done it again. He had lost the man he felt was his brother. He hadn't been strong enough. He hadn't been in time. Again. Again, he'd lost his only friend. He landed quickly and willed the fox's chakra away, before he rushed towards Sasuke. He reached the Uchiha and picked him up gently, holding him in his arms delicately. He had done it again. He had failed to protect his family. He felt a tear drip down his cheek, but he didn't hide it. He thought crying was weak. He hadn't cried since Izuna. But he couldn't help it. He'd lost his family again because he wasn't in time. Sasuke floated in a blackness that seemed never-ending. Where was he? What was going on? He suddenly saw a light and he immediately started going towards it, wondering what was going on. He arrived in a room that looked similar to his room at the Uchiha compound and he looked around in curiosity. He suddenly heard light breathing and he looked towards it to see a male asleep on his bed. He crept closer and his eyes widened as he saw the similarities between him and the man. They looked so similar that it was eerie. The only difference was a long ponytail running down the man's spine. He reached a hand forward cautiously and shook the man's shoulder. He got no response and he shook him again. Hey, wake up. Who are you? The man groaned and his eyes opened to reveal the same on as Sasuke's. Sasuke looked down at him and the man's eyes widened as he scrambled backwards in surprise. He suddenly clutched his head with a moan of pain and then focused on Sasuke again. You're my reincarnation. Sasuke's eyes widened. What? The man was silent a moment, then, somehow, our soul has stored away my memories and kept them. We are the same person. Is it like Naruto? Naruto? I had a friend named Naruto, Naruto Senju. Sasuke gasped. You still do? I mean, we do. My friend is a reincarnation of Naruto Senju. The man's eyes widened and then he smiled. Of course he wouldn't stay dead. He's too stubborn. He thought a moment, then, what do you want to do? What? Do you want to become like Naruto, with memories of your past life, or no? You're only in a temporary state of death. Sasuke thought a moment, then, yeah, let's do it. The man smiled. I am Izuna Uchiha. Let's get started. Izuna, Sasuke? He would go with Izuna for now, opened his eyes groggily to feel shaking. He looked up to see Naruto bent over him with tears streaming down his face and his eyes closed as he silently sobbed. His eyes widened. He didn't know Naruto cared about him this much. He cracked a smile and spoke in a heavy voice. I'm not dead yet, Senju. Naruto froze and his eyes opened, filled with tears. They widened as he saw the Uchiha's eyes open and then he clutched him tighter, pulling him into his chest. Oh, thank God. Thank God you're alive. I didn't lose my brother again. Izuna gasped and his eyes widened in shock. Naruto thought of him, like a brother? He hadn't known. He chuckled weakly. I feel alive. I mean, I feel pain, lots of it. Naruto gave a watery smile. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Naruto suddenly froze and his eyes widened in shock. Izuna wondered why until he felt his long draping hair get grabbed and yanked gently. Naruto's eyes turned to him, filled with desperate hope. Izuna? Izuna smiled. Good guess. You're right, as always. Naruto's eyes lit up in joy. It's you? It's really you? Yes, it's me. It seems you're not the only reincarnation. He was suddenly squeezed tightly. Izuna. I've been mourning you all this time. You're alive. You're really alive. Naruto laughed in joy and Izuna wheezed. Can't breathe. He was let go quickly and Naruto blushed. Oops. Izuna spoke in a dry tone. Oops? That's all you have to say? Do you know how much these senbon hurt? Naruto winced. Oops and I'm sorry? Izuna sighed. That'll do. Help me get up. I sense more people coming, hostile ones. You too? I've sensed them for a while, but you were more important to me. Izuna smiled. Yeah, family first, right? Yes, family first. Here, grab my hand. Izuna grabbed Naruto's hand and Naruto pulled him up, but before he could let his friend go, he felt a jolt go through his body and he yelped. What was that? Chakra. You need it. Izuna glared at his friend. Warn me next time. I'll be sure to. Now, you good? Izuna stretched and rolled his joints, before he nodded. Yeah, I'm good. I think I can get water walking now though. Naruto snorted. Smartass. Of course you can. I call cheating. Izuna chuckled and they heard a multitude of feet as the mist cleared away. A large mob of mercenaries appeared through the mist and a small man with fancy clothes on spoke. It seems Zabuza was not the demon he said he was if he was killed by you. Good thing though. Now you're weakened and easy to destroy. Men, get them. The one who kills the bridge builder gets an extra 1,000 ryo. The men charged and Izuna tested his chakra levels before he looked at Naruto. Naruto immediately got the message and they both started doing hand seals faster than the eye could follow. They both put their hands up to their mouths and took deep breaths. In unison, the words came, "Fire style, Dragon Emperor's flames." Twin dragons of fire sprayed from their mouths, impacting the men. Immediately, screams of pain started echoing through the air. When the dragons were gone, there was no one left alive and Izuna fell to his knee in exhaustion. Naruto immediately knelt down and put Izuna's arm over his shoulders and wrapped a hand around the Uchiha's waist to keep him from falling. He staggered back over to where Kakashi was staring at them in shock and stopped in front of the Junin. "They're dead." I see that. That was quite effective. Yeah, but now is Sasuke's tired. He's got almost no chakra left. Kakashi nodded and turned to Tazuna. "Let's go back to your house. These boys need rest." That was a very energy-consuming jutsu. Of course. Let's go. They stayed another week and a half as the bridge was finished, narrowly avoiding Kakashi's suspicion about Izuna. They didn't want anyone to know until Sarutobi found out. Of course, the time was spent sparring. Naruto was glad to finally have someone his level to fight, though they could only do it when it was Kakashi's turn to guard the bridge, but that was okay with them. The real problem was Sakura. Izuna had absolutely despised fangirls and she was pushing the limits of his patience. He was very close to just throttling her, but Naruto kept him calm, just barely, but calm. Finally they were on their way back to Konoha, much to Izuna's relief as he could use patrols with Naruto to escape Sakura. They arrived at Konoha and headed to the Hokage's office to report on their mission. Sarutobi was angry, not overwhelmingly so, but angry. He was mad that the client had lied about the mission difficulty, but he was also relieved that Naruto had been on the mission or all of Team 7 might not have returned. When Kakashi was finally done talking to the Hokage, Naruto and Izuna stayed behind while everyone else left the room. Sarutobi looked at Naruto in curiosity. "What is it, sensei? Something to add perhaps?" "Indeed there is. I think you'll be quite shocked and you might be slightly horrified, like you were with me." Sarutobi eyed him warily. "What's going to be my heart attack for the day?" Naruto chuckled and pulled Izuna forward. "Did you ever think that Sasuke looked a lot like Izuna Uchiha?" Sarutobi studied Izuna and then nodded. "I did." "Why? Is Sasuke a direct descendant?" "I have no idea. What I do know is that now he looks even more like my old best friend." "And why might that be?" "Because Sasuke almost died on the mission. In fact, he awoke some old memories." Sarutobi paled. "Oh God, please no. One apocalypse is enough." "Oh, is there a problem?" Sarutobi spoke in a high voice. "No, none. I can assume though, that young Sasuke is actually Izuna Uchiha?" Naruto smiled brightly. "However did you guess?" Sarutobi paled further before he cleared his throat. "Ahem, I see." Izuna chuckled. "He looks shocked, Naruto. You might have killed your Hokage and student." "Nah, he'll be good." Sarutobi cut in. "I'll be good. Anyway, what do you want to do about your name? Change it or keep it?" Naruto already officially changed his to Senju, but he hasn't told anyone. Izuna frowned and then gained a thoughtful face. "I guess. I'll change it to Izuna. But keep Sasuke as a second middle name in honor of my second parents." Sarutobi nodded. "What will you tell your friends, or rather teammates, seeing as Sasuke doesn't have any friends but Naruto?" "That I've been going by my middle name, but I recently found out that I was named after my great-grandfather, Izuna Uchiha, so I decided to go by my real name. Kakashi will probably guess on his own, so we'll tell him, but everyone else will get the cover story." Sarutobi nodded and wrote it down on his paper. "I'll get that sorted out by the time I leave tonight." "Is that all?" Naruto thought a moment, then, "Yeah, that's it." The Hokage nodded. "Before you go, Naruto, I'd like to inform you that you've been named the 5th Hokage and that there will be a council meeting tomorrow that I need you to attend. I will be explaining your position there." Naruto nodded. "I'll be there. Oh, by the way, there's a seal on your desk that sends information to a secret base beneath Hokage Mountain. I overrode it for our private meeting. It's on the upper right corner, underneath the edge." Sarutobi's face grew shocked and then angry. "Danzo. Thank you, Naruto. I will solve it. Good day, Saru-chan." Izuna watched Naruto as he dressed in more formal clothes. "Are you sure you want to go? This civilian council sounds hateful." Naruto chuckled at his friend's worry. I'll be fine, Zoo. Sarutobi sat down in his chair in the council room and everyone else sat as well. This was a meeting of everyone that he had called to reintroduce their new hell him. He meant Naruto, not hell, definitely not hell. Naruto was outside waiting to be announced. Once everyone was seated, he started, I called this meeting to announce that I have chosen a new Hokage. There will be no argument on this matter. This person was named the next Hokage by Tobirama Senju himself many years ago. I have simply been holding his hat in my opinion. His old teammates leaned forward with excited glints, thinking it was one of them. He would be glad to disappoint them. He gained an evil smirk. Many of you know him. I hope you believe in reincarnation. He saw his old teammates come to a horrible conclusion and he smirked. You may come in, sensei. The door opened with an ominous creak and Danzo, Homura, and Kaharu turned to it with rising horror as they felt a very familiar chakra. Footsteps sounded and then a tall figure with long blonde hair stepped in and looked around. He found Sarutobi's old teammates and he gave an evil smile that they all paled at. Before he turned to Sarutobi, you called, Saru-chan? That was the final straw. He saw the three looking at him all pale further and gained fearful faces. Sarutobi smiled, yes, Naruto, I did. You see, I have announced that you will be taking your rightful place as the Hokage. It has waited for 50 years for you to take the hat. It was meant for you. My old teammates were just getting over their shock at your return to the world of the living. One of the lesser civilians grew angry, the Kyuubi brat. No, I will not follow a demon. There was a blur and then a sudden spray of blood and Naruto withdrew Shirayuki from the civilian's corpse, wiping the blood on their clothes. Mentioning the demon is punishable by death and I will be happy to comply. Sarutobi sighed, did you have to make a mess? No, but it has more. Meaning, no? If you break the law under my eye, you will be disposed of in a quick and messy way. Sarutobi nodded and waved, Anbu, remove the body please. Hi, Hokage-sama. 3 Anbu came down and took the body with them, leaving only the blood. Naruto walked over to his old seat next to the Hokage's chair and sat down, crossing his legs and watching the room with his mainly red eyes. Sarutobi looked around the room, anyone else? One of the civilians jumped up, I call for death for killing a council member. He's just a demon. There was a flash of brown and then a spray of red and the widening of the civilian's eyes, before Naruto drew back his root he'd impaled the man with and the body fell to the ground. Sarutobi groaned, Anbu. This one as well. The same 3 Anbu removed the body and Sarutobi looked around, anyone else or was 2 enough? There was nothing else and he sighed in relief. Good, I don't want to have to replace anyone else, though if they were fool enough to anger Naruto, they deserved death. They're lucky he made it quick. Danzo finally stood, are you really Naruto Senju? The son of Tobirama Senju? Yes I am, Dan-chan. Why, doubts? At this, his eyes glowed dangerously. Danzo shook his head, no doubts, sensei. Before he sat back down. Naruto nodded, good, now that that's over with, we can continue. Sarutobi nodded, yes, we can. I plan on making Naruto Hokage as of right now, but hiding the fact until after the Chunin exams. My old sensei named Naruto the next Hokage, but he was tragically ambushed and killed by a man seeking power. He woke his memories when he was attacked some time ago. He's got all of his former prowess back as well and I hold no doubt he could beat me if we fought. He's also been trained in politics by Hashirama-sama and Tobirama sensei. He is completely capable and trained to be Hokage and therefore, he took off his hat and placed it on Naruto's head. Naruto Senju is now the Godem Hokage. Naruto grabbed the brim of the hat and tipped it, showing one multi-colored eye and a smile, I accept. Naruto looked at Sarutobi as he did paperwork, crossing his arms and leaning back. Sarutobi looked up, what do you need? You should be helping. Ever try shadow clones? Sarutobi froze in place and then face vaulted, no, but I will now. Thank you for that. No problem. Say, can I borrow the Senju scroll? I want to see any new jutsus my father created after my death. Yeah, sure, let me get it out of the vault. He stood up and started opening the vault and Naruto eyed a small glowing seal on the desk. This one was in a new spot, so the first had been gotten rid of and a second placed in its spot. He stood while the Hokage got the scroll and pressed his finger to the mark, pulsing chakra through it and destroying it completely. He sat back down and Sarutobi came back over. Here you go. Chunin exams are in a month. Are you competing with your team? Yes. It has to be a team effort, as you know, and it would be rude to make them get a new teammate now, especially since Izuna is my close friend. What are you going to tell them about your lovely new hat? Izuna and Kakashi will be told, but Sakura is a blabbermouth. I'd love to tell my whole team, but if she's told, it would destroy any secrecy we want to keep on the subject, as much as I want to see your face. She will not find out until the Chunin finals with everyone else. Sarutobi nodded. The warning you gave the council should keep them quiet, and if it doesn't, they get executed, as I said to them at the meeting. Naruto nodded, taking the scroll and standing. Sarutobi also handed him his new hat. This is your 5th Hokage hat. It's yours to hold as proof in any unplanned for situations. Naruto nodded and took it, sealing it into a sealing scroll. Thank you. I hear that Jiraiya of the Sannin, who is also my godfather, is coming to visit. Do you know when? The month between the second and third part of the exams. He's been planning to come train you during that time, though I doubt you need it with that scroll in your hands. It's also got your second father's techniques in it, and he was planning on teaching you the Rasengan. Naruto nodded. Alright, thank you, but I should probably get going. I'm grabbing some food and I want to look at this before I go to bed. Sarutobi nodded. Goodbye, Godem Hokage. Naruto nodded with a smile and then he was gone in a blur of Shunshin. He arrived home, or rather the Uchiha compound, and smirked as he drew his hat out and put it on his head. He shunshined to the main house, where Izuna was living, and stepped inside to hear humming in the kitchen. He wandered until he got there and he saw Izuna cooking with Sasuke's apron on. He chuckled, like he did whenever he saw that apron, and Izuna didn't even look as he kneaded some dough for dumplings. Hello, Ruto. You're home late. I was at the council meeting dealing with pompous pricks and killing people. I'm sorry I took so long. I do hope you'll still feed me. Izuna chuckled. Killing people? They mentioned Kurama in an unsavory manner, so I killed them. There was no other reason? I was proving that I wasn't a pushover and I wanted to stab something. I see. Just to stab something. Then I guess I'll make enough for you. Thanks, Zoo. You know, the Chunin exams are in a month. I planned on entering with you guys. Soccer is useless, but I have a niggling suspicion, if the files I stole from Danzo are telling the truth, that Orochimaru is going to sneak into the exams and attempt to mark you, or rather Sasuke, with a curse mark and try to kill Saru. Izuna thought a moment and then nodded. Makes sense. I've heard that Orochimaru was a pedophile that liked the bodies of little boys. Naruto shuddered. I'd heard that too, but I won't let him touch you. I think I can handle myself. Ah, but what are best friends for? He saw a smile on the part of Izuna's face that he could see in the light. I don't know. Naruto hemped, and Izuna chuckled again. No, but seriously, I'm glad that you're here too. You're the only person I know in this timeline and you're the only good sparring partner. Naruto smiled. Why thank you. That means a lot. The Uchiha put the dumplings in the pan and then finally turned to him, only for his eyes to widen in shock. Did you steal the Hokage's hat? Hey, I'm not a thief. Okay, I am, but I didn't steal it. He gave it to me. See the kanji for 5 on it? I'm the new Hokage as of tonight, though we're not telling anybody until the Chunin finals, and oh, I plan on making you the 6th once the time comes. Isn't it great? Izuna stared at him a moment. You're the new Hokage? Yup, and you're the next one. So no dying allowed. Izuna shook his shock away and then smiled. I'll try not to die again in that case. An Uchiha as Hokage. That'll be an experience. Naruto smiled. Yup. Oh, your food's burning. Shit. He quickly stirred the food and Naruto leaned back, crossing his arms and watching as his best friend made food in amusement. It was funny to watch him rush around, but Naruto had never learned how to cook well, so he didn't want to mess the Uchiha up. The 3 of Team 7 sat waiting for Kakashi for training. Naruto got bored and pulled out the Senju scroll, unrolling it and looking it over. He'd looked at it the night before and he'd been hit with a feeling of sadness as he read through the jutsus. He'd reached the Edo Tensei jutsu and there had been a note that had made his heart twinge. Edo Tensei was created by the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. He made it on hopes of summoning his deceased son's soul from the pure world, but in the end decided that he wanted to let his son rest in peace and never used the Edo Tensei for its original purpose. It summons a soul from the dead, but requires a living sacrifice and some of the summoned soul's DNA. He had then decided to look over this jutsu more thoroughly. If he'd heard right, Orochimaru had no morals, and if the snake Sannin had seen this scroll, he would have learned the Edo Tensei. He wanted to make a counter seal that would free the soul from the fake body that was created. He also hoped to go a step further and make a way for the soul to stay in the world of the living, which meant a lot of work on seals. He also wanted to learn his second father's personal jutsus, the Rasengan and the Hiraishin, which was based off of his first father's teleportation jutsu, but perfected. Right now, he was looking over the formula for Hiraishin. Izuna stood and came over to him. "Is that what I think it is?" "Yes, would you like a look?" "Sure, seems interesting." And so they both sat to read, while Sakura just turned her nose up at Naruto and fawned over Izuna, just staring at his face creepily and making him unnerved. Finally Kakashi arrived with his trusty book, and Naruto rolled up the scroll and walked over to him. He looked at Izuna. "I have something I need to tell Kakashi. Will you keep any interruption away, Zu?" "Yeah, sure, I'll watch." Naruto nodded and pulled Kakashi to a small hidden cave. "Have you heard of the new Hokage yet, Kakashi?" Kakashi looked up from his book in interest. "No, I haven't." "You have? You could say that." He looked around and then put up a barrier and unsealed his hat, placing it on his head. Kakashi's eye widened in shock and his book dropped to the ground. "Is that? I'm the new Hokage as of yesterday. It's a secret though, so don't tell anyone. The only ones who know are Sasuke, because I trust him with my life, Sarutobi, the council, and now you. We're not announcing it until the finals of the Chunin exams, which I am participating in with my team. There is also one more thing that is a secret only me, Sasuke, and the Hokage know." Kakashi, who had been in a state of shock over his new title, snapped out of it. "What is it? Have you heard of Izuna Uchiha? Madara Uchiha's younger brother?" "I have. It's Sasuke. He's like me." Kakashi's jaw dropped. I see. That's why he knows you're the Hokage, isn't it?" "It is." "Well, I shall keep this a secret. Thank you for telling me, and I understand why Sakura can't know." Naruto nodded and slipped the hat away. "Thank you. Now, let's go back." Zu's probably wondering what's taking so long. "Zu? Izuna's nickname, he only lets me call him. If anyone else tries, he kills them. Remember that." Kakashi nodded and they went back to the others. They walked up to the third floor of the academy, ignoring the genjutsu, and heading towards room 301. The past month had been uneventful. They had trained under Kakashi, learning a few new jutsus, including the pseudo Sharingan user's assassination technique, the Chidori. Naruto had learned the Rasengan in about 2 weeks and learned the Hiraishin in the other 2 weeks. He'd been exhilarated to be able to go so fast. He was only a flash. He was faster than both of his dads now. It was nice. He'd learned the basics from Tobirama and he'd mastered it with Minato's notes and kunai. He'd also made a seal to neutralize the Edo Tensei, but he was still working on making it able to hold the soul in the living world. He was confident he'd get there before the finals, which was when he suspected Orochimaru would attack. Some new information had said that Suna, Sound, and Iwe were all aligned to attack during the finals, but that was from Danzo's spy network that Naruto had hacked his way into. He didn't know how accurate it was, but he was a paranoid ninja, so he was planning for if it did happen. Just in case, he'd placed a hidden Hiraishin seal on Sarutobi's battle armor, which he knew the man would be wearing. Izuna had learned Chidori and Reikiri, as well as some new fire jutsus. Naruto had learned the Chidori too, but he didn't plan on using it very often because he preferred the Rasengan, thanks to one of his fathers creating it from scratch. Izuna had also been practicing with his Mangekyo and found, to his shock, that he wasn't feeling any side effects from it, like he should be. His eyes should start bleeding when he used them and his eyesight should be going dimmer, but it wasn't. It was perfectly fine. It was assumed by both of them that being reborn had given him virtually a new set of eyes. Sasuke's had merged with Izuna's and given him the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which pleased him to no end. He didn't want to go blind. Sakura hadn't learned anything except that Izuna liked tomatoes. Now they were here for the Chunin exams. They reached the right room and found Kakashi standing there waiting for them. He took their papers with a smile. "Good luck. I was just here to make sure you came as a team." Naruto nodded and they stepped inside to immediately be met with killing intent. Naruto picked at his nails. "Me or you, Zu? I'll do it. You'll give them heart attacks." Go ahead. Izuna nodded and the room was immediately flooded with an insane killer intent that overpowered the others so much that it was like a speck of dust to a landslide. Everyone paled and a few fell to their knees. Izuna looked at Naruto and spoke in a bored voice, they're all weaklings. No worries, Ruto. They won't prove a threat to us. If they're afraid of me, you'll absolutely terrify them. Naruto nodded and looked around, pity. I wanted a real dance. Izuna chuckled, you stole my brother's line, but yes, there will be no good dances here except maybe that grass kunoichi over there that reeks of deceit and power. The grass nin stiffened and Naruto focused on her to sense snake. Orochimaru. He'd been right. He'd leave the Sannin for now and if he caused trouble, fight and hopefully kill him. Naruto nodded, a pain. I wanted to kill some people. I guess I'll just go for slaughter. A few people paled, but still under Izuna's ki, they were unable to move. Izuna looked, oops, I forgot you're all weak. This kind of killer intent is really low for me. I'll remove it if you're having trouble. It lifted and several teams left, muttering about not fighting monsters. Naruto watched them with a critical eye, so weak that it's painful to watch. They'd all die anyway though. I do love ending pathetic things. Izuna rolled his eyes, you and your bloodthirst, it'll be the death of me. Naruto gave a fake pout, I don't hurt my team, okay rescind that, my friends. Izuna chuckled, yeah, let's sit down. They sat down and a silver-haired boy that also smelled of snakes looked like he was going to approach them when there was a puff of smoke at the front of the room. Sit down maggots. Let's get started. They jumped through the trees in the second part of the exam and Naruto sensed a strong chakra rapidly approaching. Here comes the snake, Zu. I sensed him. What do you want to do? Guard Sakura. I'll handle the Habiteme. I was going to leave him but now he's crossed the line by trying to hurt you. That, I cannot accept. Izuna smiled fondly at his friend's protectiveness and then grabbed Sakura and jumped up higher into the tree and masked his chakra. Sakura's was so low you couldn't sense it anyway. Naruto drew Shirayuki and stood at a ready position. Soon a giant snake appeared with the grass nin from before on its head and Naruto eyed the snake and the nin on top. I was waiting for you to show your ugly face, Orochimaru. I knew you were coming months ago. Nice try though. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed, you did you? Who are you? Oh, you forgot me? You heard me. You never met me, but surely you've heard the name Naruto Senju before. Surely you believe in reincarnation? Orochimaru's eyes widened and then narrowed again. I've heard of you, yes, but you were powerful years ago. You're no match for me. Naruto smirked, really? I can beat the Hokage in an all-out battle. You think you can beat me? That's laughable. I'll feed your corpse to Itachi's crows. Itachi, bet you know him. He utterly humiliated you with his Tsukuyomi. Pathetic. I've met stronger than him and won. You don't stand a chance. Orochimaru growled in anger, how do you know that? I have my sources. Then there's the man himself. I met him about 3 weeks ago when he was near Konoha. He seemed like a decent guy. Izuna had been there too and, because of his past life, stayed calm enough for Itachi to explain what the Uchiha massacre really was. Orochimaru's face contorted in rage, I will kill Itachi Uchiha. Then you will realize how outmatched you are. Oh please. You won't leave this forest and if you do, you'll spend the next month crippled while your little boy toy medic Nin heals you. Die, you pest. Naruto smirked. Angry people made mistakes. Orochimaru's snake lunged forward, but a water whip from Naruto sliced the snake's head off and it poofed away into smoke. Orochimaru's eyes widened at the quick death of his summons, but set it aside and jumped forward once more. Naruto dodged and went for the snake Sannin, swinging Shirayuki. It barely missed as Orochimaru dodged and Naruto spun midair and a Rasengan formed in his hand. It slammed into Orochimaru's back and sent the Sannin flying forward into a tree. Orochimaru spun angrily and ripped his fake face off, throwing it to the side and charging again. Naruto just jumped above him and Orochimaru spun, making fast hand seals, earth-style, stone bullets. Bullets of stone sped from his mouth, aimed at the boy above him, and Naruto's eyes widened, before he spun mid-air, narrowly dodging the stones. His water whip cleaved through Orochimaru, just for the man to dissolve into mud, and he spun just in time to avoid a gout of fire from above. They both landed and he grabbed his Hiraishin kunai out of his holster. He quickly threw them at Orochimaru and the man narrowly dodged, you missed me. Did I really? Orochimaru's eyes widened as the Senju turned to a simple yellow flash and then he cursed and spun just in time to block a kick, but he missed Shirayuki, which went across his stomach. He spat out some blood and started making quick seals again, fire style. Great Fire Dragon Emperor's Raging Inferno. A huge dragon of fire flew from his mouth and Naruto cursed and flashed out of the way, barely missing getting turned to a crisp. He appeared behind Orochimaru and cut through him. Orochimaru cried out and then spat out, himself. The new Orochimaru looked quickly for an escape and then he quickly sunk into the earth. Naruto slammed his hand into the ground, sending a pulse of chakra through. He felt Orochimaru below him and he quickly jumped up and swung Shirayuki down, slicing into the Sannin's hands. They quickly withdrew and then Orochimaru was gone and Naruto couldn't find him anywhere. He cursed lightly and then jumped up into the trees to where Izuna and Sakura were. He's gone. Izuna sighed in relief. Good. Now let's head to the tower before anything else happens. I thought you were a goner for a second. Sakura just glared at Naruto for interrupting her Sasuke-kun time. What a fancy fight. Ha, I bet I could do better. Naruto and Izuna just stood there dumbstruck at her stupidity until Izuna started laughing. You think that you could do better? That was Orochimaru, the snake Sannin. You'd be dead in 0.2 seconds. Sakura paled. That was Orochimaru? Naruto snickered. Yeah, it was. He was after Izuna, so I got rid of him. Wouldn't want to ruin Izuna's looks. Izuna stopped laughing and glared at him. I hate you. Naruto smirked. Never. A.N. All the fights are the same as canon for the semifinals. I didn't want to write them all down because then I'd have to spend a while watching and writing down each fight. Meh. Everyone that passes in the original does the same in this story. Laughing face. Naruto wandered Konoha looking for Jiraiya. He'd already talked to Sarutobi and the old man had said that Jiraiya was in the village somewhere. He finally found the man sitting in a tree looking down into the girl's side of the hot spring and his eye twitched. He despised perverts. He suddenly got a dark smile and used a jutsu that he had made before he got his memories, jutsu. He transformed into a beautiful woman with raven black hair and, ahem, nice assets, only dressed in a towel. He made his voice different, eep. A pervert. He's looking in the woman's hot springs. There was an instant uproar and Jiraiya only had time to widen his eyes before the angry mob was upon him. Naruto gave a dark chuckle and then did a henge to look taller with Hokage's robes on. He slipped on his hat and hid his face, before he deepened his voice. What's going on here? The women turned and then froze. Hokage-sama, This pervert was looking in the baths on the woman's side. We were just punishing him. Naruto nodded. I see. You may go back. I will handle him. Yes, Hokage-sama, thank you. They all went back and he approached Jiraiya and kicked the twitching man. Oi. Wake up, pervert-san. No, leave me to die. Okay, fine. In that case, I'll get the women to come back. Jiraiya immediately jumped up, looking around fearfully. No. Not the women. Then move your ass away from the hot springs. I hate perverts. Jiraiya focused on him, then narrowed his eyes. Who are you? You're not sensei. No, I'm not. You're right. I'm the Godem Hokage that they named a month ago. You weren't here for that of course, nor were you here to raise your godson. I'm disappointed. Now, get your sorry ass up. I was looking for you. Jiraiya stood with narrow eyes. Sarutobi didn't mention a new Hokage. That's because he wanted me to tell you. Who are you? I want to see your face. Really? Are you sure? Yes, I am. Okay. Since you weren't here to raise your godson, he raised himself better than you ever could. Naruto raised his head and Jiraiya's jaw dropped at the long bangs framing Naruto's face. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Senju at your service, though I just go by Senju. Jiraiya's eyes grew angry. There's no way. Naruto chuckled. Really? Catch. And he threw a Hiraishin kunai. Jiraiya caught it. That throw was weak. There's no way you're his son. Naruto smirked and he was suddenly in front of the man in a yellow flash, slamming a seal on his chest and then disappearing again. Jiraiya's eyes widened and he chased after him, bringing the kunai with him. Naruto used the various seals placed around the village and flashed from one to the other, leaving Jiraiya to only follow a trail of yellow flashes. They finally reached Sarutobi's office and Naruto laughed gleefully. Sarutobi looked up to see his clothes, before he sighed. What did you do? There's an angry Sanin after me who thinks I'm an imposter. Of course there is, and of course you're encouraging it. I'm telling you, sensei, that you're going to be the death of this old man. Naruto chuckled. I know I am. But that's okay. You're all wrinkly anyway, Saru-chan. Sarutobi just sighed again as Jiraiya came flying through the window. Naruto laughed and dodged a punch, skipping around the room and laughing like a madman. Sarutobi just got back to signing his papers, ignoring them entirely. Jiraiya aimed a punch and Naruto dodged again. Oh come on. Orochimaru was more challenged than you. What is this? You're so slow. It's like you're walking. Jiraiya growled and looked at Sarutobi, who was calmly signing his papers. Sensei. Who is this Gaki? Sarutobi didn't even look up. My sensei come back to life. That's the reason you can't hit him. He's Tobirama sensei's son and Minato Namikaze's son. Watch out. He likes destroying things. Oh, and he is the Godem Hokage as of last month. Jiraiya's jaw dropped and Naruto sat down in a Mokuton-formed chair and crossed his arms. You ruined my fun, Saru-chan. He was making my papers fly everywhere. You're no fun. I wanted to play tag. Go play tag, not in my office then, sensei. There's a forest of death. That should be fun. Nah, nothing dangerous enough in there. Ooh, Jiraiya wanna spar? If not, I could go spar with Zu. Jiraiya eyed him warily. Spar? Yeah, Orochimaru was too short, and then he just left. I mean, I was only going to gut him. Nothing that bad. Sarutobi sighed and looked up with a deadpan face. Gutting someone makes them run, sensei. Ah, pooh, no one's fun anymore. Sarutobi looked back down with a sigh. You should stop bothering me now and go have fun with Izuna. Naruto sighed. Fine. He looked at Jiraiya and winked. If you need me, I'm at the Uchiha compound. Ya nay. As soon as he was gone, Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi. That's the new Hokage? Yes. He was supposed to be the Hokage instead of me, so he gets the 5th spot. Is he really your old sensei? Yes, he is. He's quite unique, no? I can't tell if he's joking half the time. His first council meeting, he killed 2 people and crippled a 3rd. He is a good person though. He's just ruthless and cold when the need arises. He's especially protective of his friends, even more so since he only really has one. Izuna Uchiha. That name? It's him. They both came back. You know, you should take them until the Chunin finals. I need someone to find Tsunade and try to convince her to come back. The medical skills in our hospital are horrid. I'm surprised they save anyone. Naruto's healing chakra is better than most of our doctors and he only knows the basics taught to all senjus when they're young. Jiraiya was silent a moment, then he sighed. Is he really Minato's son? Yes he is. Didn't he come here with the Hirishin? He did. He's Minato's son and he hasn't gone farther than Wave in the past 60 years. You should take them both to find Tsunade. For Izuna, it's been longer because he died 65 years ago. Jiraiya sighed. You really think I should take him? He's probably a better fighter than me. They both are. They could both beat me in a battle. Jiraiya's jaw dropped and then he cleared his throat. I guess I'll take them. When do we need to be back? Chunin finals in a month. Naruto's new hat is being announced and according to him, Orochimaru plans on attacking as well. Jiraiya gasped. Are you sure? Yes, he is. He already fought Orochimaru once and would have killed him if he didn't flee. Jiraiya took this in and then nodded. Alright. Uchiha compound, he said? Yes, he's probably sparring with Izuna, who's the only one capable of a fight, or at least that's what Naruto says. We'll be back in 3.5 weeks, with or without Tsunade. Go. Naruto nodded and spoke in a stage whisper. He's a pervert. Izuna chuckled and also spoke in a stage whisper. At least he's not like Orochimaru with his little boys. Jiraiya suddenly burst into laughter at this. I cannot tell you how many times I've told him that. He gets so mad when you call him a pedophile. Naruto nodded. That's how I got him angry in our fight. Jiraiya snorted. That would do it. Izuna snickered. You should have seen the snake's face. It was so funny, especially since he was pretending to be a woman at the time. Jiraiya burst into laughter again and Naruto smirked. So, Jiraiya, I hear you don't like Uchihas. Any specific reason? Jiraiya eyed him and Izuna. One wronged me. Izuna snickered. It wouldn't happen to be my brother, would it? He was a jerk sometimes. He beat me in poker. Izuna snorted and Naruto started laughing. Poker. That's priceless. He has done so much else in poker. Ha, Izuna smiled, he probably cheated too. My brother was good at that. Jiraiya growled, he cheated? Izuna nodded, most likely. Why, how much did you lose? 2 million ryo. Naruto snorted, please, I have that in pocket change. Jiraiya glowered at him. I'm not from an extremely rich family that had 2, now 3, Hokages in it. Chill out, I'm talking about from my missions. Izuna looked at him in surprise, missions? I send numerous hanged shadow clones around to do D ranks. About 50 a day. Jiraiya's jaw dropped, you do what? You heard me, easy, cheap money. Though I am beginning to despise Tora. Jiraiya snickered now, I know Tora. We had a cat just like her when we were training to be shinobi. Naruto smirked, have fun with that? I figured out a secret, but I won't say. Jiraiya growled, no, I almost killed that cat. Naruto chuckled, yes, I suppose. You are an impatient one. Jiraiya was now glowering at him, I hate you. They finally found Tsunade in Rice Country and Naruto scoffed silently, my niece has sunk low. Oh, Uncle Hash would be heartbroken if he saw this. Jiraiya looked at him, you know her? She was 7 when I died. I used to call her Suhime-chan. Jiraiya's eyebrow rose, really? She was a nice little girl, around me. Everyone else was. Well, she adored me. I wonder. Stay here. Jiraiya frowned, are you sure, Naruto? Of course I am. I can handle myself if she attacks. I'll be back. They nodded and he straightened his clothes, making sure Shirayuki was straight in his sash and then slipping in. He slipped over to where she was at the bar and sat down next to her silently, watching her. She chugged another drink, ignoring him for the moment, and he turned to the bartender, sake please. Right up. Ninja? Yeah, from Konoha. Traveling in search of a family member. Haven't found them yet. The bartender nodded and got him some sake and he sipped it, still eyeing Tsunade. He finally spoke, you know, you're gonna die of alcohol poisoning. I'll be fine, brat. Don't talk to me. Why not? I'm not in the mood. Really? Or is it because I'm from Konoha? I dislike Konoha. Why? You don't need to know. I don't? Pity that I don't even recognize you anymore. What are you talking about? I don't recognize you at all, Suhime-chan. What a disappointment. Really, that you became this. I despise drunks, but you already know that. Tsunade's head whipped up and he leaned against the counter, watching her with his mainly red eyes. Her eyes widened and then she grew angry, what are you playing at? My uncle is dead. Really? I am? Pity. I thought I was alive, but oh well, guess I'll leave then. Bye-bye Suhime-chan. He set the money for the drink down and then walked from the building. He arrived outside and Jiraiya snorted, that didn't work. Any more bright ideas? He held out a hand, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, come back, uncle. Naruto smirked and mouthed, told you, before he turned with crossed arms and a raised eyebrow, yes? I thought I was dead. Tsunade stopped in front of him and stared at him, looking him up and down, how are you here? I was at your funeral. Indeed? I am here because I was brought back to life. I came looking for my little princess, but I still haven't found her. I don't recognize you at all. Tsunade's face fell at his scathing words, I'm right here, uncle. You've changed a lot, Tsunade. I know. I lost everything to Konoha and I ran away. I know you did. I was upset when I found that out. What would Uncle Hash think? Now, she was crestfallen and looking a bit ashamed, I was overwhelmed. Naruto sighed and then put a hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, Suhime-chan, you are better than that. You know that. I have high hopes for you. You became a Sannin and served Konoha, but then you abandoned all that hard work for gambling and drinking. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't disappointed, but I can say that I semi-understand. He sighed, I will share a secret. I did not awaken my memories until a few months ago. Before that, I was Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails. The clanless orphan whose family abandoned him in a dumpster because they didn't want a demon brat. I know now who my second life's parents were, but before that I had nothing and no one, but one singular friend who was also an orphan. However, I didn't abandon my village, because I knew that it would be worth it if I stayed. Now, he pulled out his hat and put it on, now, I am the Hokage and I was right. It was worth it. She looked at him in shock and then sadness and then shame, before she reached up and grabbed the rim of his hat, sighing lightly, you want me to go back? I do. But, Dan, Nawaki, Grandpa, Great Uncle. You. I am here now and they wouldn't want you to abandon your village. She was silent and then she let go of his hat and grabbed his shirt, pulling him towards her and then falling to her knees and pressing her face into his chest as he knelt down. He rubbed her back. It's up to you, Suhime-chan. I am there though and I am not leaving again, not if I have any say in the matter. And you know me, stubborn as a mule. She finally pulled away with watery eyes. It's really you, uncle. I'm glad. He smiled softly and pulled her up. Do you want to come home with me? I do. Good. It will be nice to have some family there besides, Zu. Zu? Izuna. Her jaw dropped. Uchiha? Yes, Izuna Uchiha. He's been here the whole time, but you didn't notice him. He's behind Pervert-san over there. She snorted at Jiraiya's nickname and then focused on Izuna, who waved his hand. Hello, Naruto's niece. I'm Izuna. She eyed him. I don't trust you. He waved his hand. Meh, most senjus don't. Ruto is the exception. He actually lives with me at the moment because he doesn't feel like moving out. Lazy bum. Naruto seemed indignant. Hey. I stay with you because it's so lonely in your compound. Plus there has got to be ghosts. And I'm a good cook. Naruto was silent and then he sighed. You are a good chef, but that's not it. Izuna chuckled and waved his hand again. I don't really care. I was just messing with you. Naruto eyed him a moment and then nodded and smiled brightly. Alright. Now, who's ready to get moving? Family trip. Tsunade smothered her laughter, glad to have her beloved uncle back. They arrived back at the village 3 days before the final exam and Naruto immediately led them to the Hokage's office. He arrived through the window and Sarutobi didn't even look up. Must you always use the window? There is a door for a reason, sensei. Meh, doors are for pansies. Sarutobi sighed. I see. How is the search? They're coming. I just talked to my niece and she agreed to come back. Sarutobi looked up now. Your niece? I forgot you were Tobirama-sensei's son for a second. Was she surprised? She didn't believe me at first, so I walked out on her. She was after me in 5 seconds. She absolutely adored, and still adores, me. I see. She's coming? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As he said 1, the door opened and Tsunade came in with Shizune behind her. Jiraiya and Izuna came through the window and landed next to Naruto and Tsunade came up to stand next to him as well. Sarutobi smiled at her. Hello, Tsunade. It's been a while. Yes, it has. I apologize for just leaving, but when everyone died and Orochimaru turned traitor, I just had to leave. It's understandable. How was your trip abroad? It was pleasurable. Lots of sake and gambling. Naruto smiled in amusement with a twinkle in his eyes as he spoke in a stage whisper. She was drunk when we found her. Tsunade glared at him and Sarutobi chuckled. Indeed. Well, the reason I've called for you, Tsunade, is that our medical nen are deplorable. Naruto, with his basic senju training, does a better job than most of our doctors. There's a boy they say will be crippled for life and have to quit his ninja career that I think you can heal. That, and after Naruto wins the first match of the finals, I'm announcing him as my successor, as he has been for about 2 months already. The right was his. I gave it back. Tsunade nodded. I understand. You want me to train medics? Please. Ours are horrid. Can you perhaps visit and try to heal Lee first? He's been depressed since they told him he was forever crippled. She nodded. Of course I can. Thank you. That was all. She nodded again and then gestured for Shizune to follow her. Let's go heal this Lee kid, Shizune. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Come on, Taunton. Naruto stood down in the arena facing Neji, who was staring at him haughtily. His eyebrow cocked. You hate me for some odd reason, I'm sure. I see it. What about me pisses you off so much? Neji's eyes narrowed. You are going to lose. Why even fight me? Fate has decreed me the winner. Neji looked at him with wide eyes and Naruto shrugged, before falling into a ready stance and looking at the referee. Are we ready? The referee nodded. Hajime. Before he jumped back quickly. If what the boy said was true, he didn't want to be anywhere near this fight. Neji shook his shock to the side and also fell into a crouch, watching Naruto. Naruto suddenly drew 6 three-pronged kunai and threw them around the entire arena. Neji scoffed. What was that? It didn't come near me. Naruto smirked. No, it just surrounded you. My fathers, both of them, were the fastest of their time. You think I'm not the same. You're a fool, Neji Hyuga. Neji growled in anger and then Naruto was suddenly gone in a yellow flash. Neji's eyes widened and he activated his Byakugan just in time to spin and block a kick with his arms. Naruto was gone again and then there was pain in the Hyuga's back as a kick smashed into him. He flew forward and then skidded and his eyes darted around, trying to find where Naruto was going to appear next. There was a flash of yellow and he raised a kunai to block a gleaming sword made of some kind of white metal, before Naruto was gone again and a voice was heard around the arena, "Fate. Destiny. They're nothing." Neji blocked another blow and Naruto disappeared again. "I don't believe in fate and you make your own destiny." Neji was forced backwards as Naruto's fist hit his hastily crossed arms, sending him skidding. "You're wrong. If fate does not exist, then why did my father have to die? Why was my life horrible after that?" There was another yellow flash and he was slammed forward, sending him tumbling as Naruto's voice came again. "Everyone must go to the pure world sometime. Everyone dies. No one escapes the Shinigami's cold grip. It was your father's time. He sacrificed himself to save his brother. I know that Hiashi swore to him to protect you and so he went. He went to save his family, his brother. I would do the same. After that, you made your own life horrible by closing yourself off. Hinata tried caring for you, didn't she? She looks up to you and you shun her. You ruin anything that might expose your heart, because you don't want it broken, but being lonely is a cold existence." Naruto was behind him now, aiming a sword at his back. He barely managed to spin to avoid it. "No. I refuse to believe that. I don't. Everyone dislikes me and yet I'm happy, have friends, family. All those things you cut yourself off from. You hate the main house for that curse seal, correct? They have no control over that. It's the elders, not Hiashi, that enforce that law. How about instead of giving in to your fate, you try to change the Hyuga for the better? As a matter of fact, the elders stole that seal from the Uzumakis, my family, and I have spoken to Hiashi about something." Naruto was suddenly in front of him and wood wrapped around him, holding him completely still. Neji's eyes widened and he started thrashing as Naruto reached for his Hite 8. It was no use. The wood was the same that trapped Biju and drained their chakra. He pulled off the bandages and Neji started thrashing harder. "No. Let me go. What are you doing?" Naruto just pressed his fingers against Neji's cursed seal and destroyed it utterly, pulling the seal off by force. Neji screamed in agony and his back arched, but Naruto yanked the seal off entirely and the Hyuga slumped, barely conscious. Naruto looked straight up at the Hyuga elders. "This is my family's seal and you stole it and mutated it. If I see it back on him or he is killed, I will come after every single one of you and rip you to shreds slowly. I will be visiting your compound and removing the seal of anyone who is not a legitimate threat to the Hyugas. This is slavery and I will not tolerate it. If you have a problem, speak to the Hokage." He suddenly got an evil glint and pulled out his hat. "Oh wait, that's me, right? As of 2 months ago." He looked at Neji to see him staring at the ground with unfocused eyes, slumped in the Mokuton. Naruto quickly knocked him out and then released the Mokuton and caught him, lowering him to the ground gently. The medics came out and Sarutobi stood. "I have an announcement. Naruto tells the truth. As of 2 months ago, he has been the Godaime Hokage and has taken my position. That is all." There was a simultaneous gasp from the crowd and then screams and Naruto collected his Hiraishin kunai before he easily jumped up until he was in the Hokage's box next to Sarutobi. He pulled out his 5th Hokage cloak and put it on, letting the bottom flutter in the breeze, very similar to the way Minato's had when he first took the position. He straightened his hat and then looked at the surrounding people, before he sat down in the seat that Sarutobi had saved for him right next to his own. He immediately sensed Orochimaru in the cage's place and notated it before Sarutobi motioned for the matches to commence and sat down once more. He put his hand on the third's arm, placing a seal and then leaned close enough so that only Sarutobi heard him. "Orochimaru is the cage." Sarutobi nodded and then they both focused on the matches once more. Since Izuna's match had been moved to the end for some reason, Shino and Kankuro stepped up, but Kankuro immediately forfeited for some reason. Since that match was a letdown, Temari and Shikamaru's match came next and Naruto was amused to see Izuna practically shove the lazy Nara into the arena. The two competitors stood across from each other, assessing the other, before Shikamaru immediately went under a shady tree in the corner of the arena. Temari grew agitated. Hey! Get out here. It's a match, not hide and seek. Naruto saw Shikamaru mutter something, probably the word troublesome, before he put his hands in the position Naruto recognized as his thinking position. After a few minutes of this, Temari attacked, but Shikamaru jumped into the tree to avoid the gust of wind, pulling out some kunai and shuriken. He started throwing them at the girl in an odd pattern and she kept blasting them away, before he threw a rather large shuriken at her and Naruto saw what he was doing just before Temari did, but it was too late, she was caught. Shikamaru slammed his hands into the ground and yelled something and the shadows grabbed Temari with the shadow of her fan connecting them. He held her and made her do a few things, copying him. Before he looked up, I forfeit. I'm out of chakra. Naruto hit a snort. He was just lazy and didn't want to hurt a woman. The proctor called the match and then Gaara and Izuna were called down and they both jumped to land across from each other. Naruto watched this match closely. He knew Gaara was a Jinchuriki. The fox had told him, but he also knew that Izuna could easily handle a tailed beast as weak as the one tails, even if Gaara ended up possessed. They stood across from each other and Gaara's sand started leaking out of his gourd and curling around him as the proctor called to start. It darted at Izuna, who drew his gunbai and blasted it away with a gout of wind. He spun the gunbai and tornadoes started forming around him, speeding towards Gaara, who dodged easily, but his sand kept getting sucked up and blown away. Izuna suddenly dodged a spike of sand and then kicked off the spike and put his gunbai on his back, before making a rapid succession of hand seals and then breathing out a torrent of flame that turned a large portion of sand to glass. Naruto chuckled quietly. Izuna would win. Onoki looked at him. Something funny, Godem-sama? Naruto looked at him. Yeah, Gaara can't win, not against Zu. He's one of a kind. The only person he's ever lost to was me. His eyebrow rose. Is that so? Indeed. We spar often. He is like my brother. A Senju and an Uchiha friends? Madara and Hashirama were friends once, but Madara wanted war. Izuna only desires peace and to revive his clan. I see. They both turned back to the battle to see a hand of sand wrapped around Izuna's hand, having grabbed it when he used a Chidori. Izuna quickly pulled his hand free and Gaara roared and lunged forward with his sand. Izuna immediately activated his Sharingan and the sand caught fire with black fire. Naruto's eyes widened. He was already bringing that out? Then he'd been correct. The plan was to get Gaara to go insane and trash the village. Gaara fully transformed and Izuna leapt backwards just as feathers started falling from the sky. Naruto saw everyone falling asleep and he cursed, before he rushed down to Izuna. He needed the Uchiha if Madara was summoned, which he had a feeling he would be, so they needed to finish this together. Izuna saw him and immediately knew his plan. He kept Shukaku distracted while Naruto formed a seal. When Shukaku wasn't looking, he slapped Gaara and woke him up, before lifting his shirt and slamming the seal into his stomach, where the shoddy seal was. Gaara's eyes widened. I don't hear mother. Before he passed out, Naruto laid him on the ground and looked to see a barrier going up around the Hokage's box. He immediately grabbed Izuna and used the seal on Sarutobi to flash them to his location. They appeared next to him just as the barrier finished going up and Sarutobi looked at him and then the unconscious Gaara before nodding and turning back to where Onoki was speaking. We've come to an agreement with the Sannin Orochimaru and decided to finally wipe our hands of Konoha once and for all. Sarutobi's eyes narrowed. You would join a traitor? Power is power. Naruto frowned at this and then he saw Orochimaru making some rapid seals off to the side. 3 coffins started to rise and he saw the tip of the Uchiha crest on one. He looked at Izuna. Remember what we talked about. Either you change him or he gets sent back to the afterlife. It's up to you, Zu. I'll handle my father and uncle and Saru can get Onoki and Orochimaru. Hopefully, by the time this is done, we have 3 new allies to Konoha. Izuna nodded and got ready. I know. I'll try. That's all I ask. Naruto turned as the coffins finished rising and looked at Sarutobi. I'll get my family. Izuna will get his brother. You handle the other 2. Sarutobi nodded and pulled off his Hokage finery, revealing his armor underneath. Naruto likewise removed his Hokage's robes and hat and sealed them away quickly. The coffins creaked open and the fronts dropped to the ground in front to reveal 3 people that looked like corpses, pale skin, cracked with age, and slumped over with dull eyes. The backs of the coffins dropped and Orochimaru quickly implanted kunai in all of their heads, causing them to stir and straighten up. Hashirama focused on Sarutobi. You've grown old, Saru-chan. Nice to see you, Hashirama-sama. Tobirama looked at him as well. You have grown old. Good lord, would my son look like you? Naruto smothered his laughter and then focused on his dad. Nope. Still young as ever. Saru-chan's just an old geezer. Tobirama turned to him and his eyes widened in shock. And Naruto? You're alive. Indeed I am. Hashirama turned as well and then smiled. Naru-chan. You're alive again. That's amazing. Indeed, Uncle Hash, and I am your opponent. As the 5th Hokage, it's my duty to defend Konoha. I do hope you've kept in shape there in the pure world, because I'm even better than I was when I died. I want a real dance. Madara's head turned to him. That's my saying. Hashirama turned. Mada-chan. Don't call me that, Hashirama. Hashirama pouted. Ah, you're so mean. Izuna snorted and hid it quickly, trying to stay unnoticed. It worked. Orochimaru gestured forward. Kill them all. Hashirama and Tobirama sighed in disappointment and then came forward and Naruto got into a ready stance, cracking his neck. Let's do this. He just needed to give Izuna enough time to talk to his brother and then he could place his seals. Madara went to attack with the others, but he was stopped by a gunby. Nissan, you're mine. I've got to beat some sense into you. He quickly spun to see a glaring Izuna looking at him and his eyes widened. Zuzu? Yes, and you've sorely disappointed me. Going and starting a war. I told you I wanted peace. But no, you had to start a war. What the hell is wrong with you? But I did it for you. For me? Seriously? I said I wanted peace. What part of peace is starting a war? You even got yourself killed. As they spoke, they fought, exchanging blows, Madara being forced by the kunai. Madara seemed confused. But they killed you. Yeah, and I told you to bring peace for me. You instead decided to go get yourself killed. Foolish big brother. Madara frowned, looking slightly like a scolded child. But I wanted revenge for your death. I was going to bring peace. I was going to put everyone in a perfect illusion where no one died and nothing bad ever happened. That's not peace. That's a lie. You're a fool. Please just give that up. You say that you did it for me, but I managed to come back from the dead and I don't want that. I don't want that kind of peace. I want real peace, not an illusion. Madara frowned and then got an ashamed look on his face. But, Zuzu, you don't want revenge for your death? They killed you. I do not want revenge. I told you that when I was dying. I gave you my eyes to help with peace, to create the peace. You didn't. Nissan, I never wanted you to die trying to get revenge for me. I never wanted that. I wanted you to be happy, to have children, to have a village to call home. Please, come back to me. I'm begging you. Madara seemed to fight the orders to destroy his brother, but he couldn't and he looked up at Izuna in fear. I can't stop myself from attacking you. I don't want to kill you. Then Naruto's voice came. That's what I'm here for. They both looked up just in time to see a seal slam into Madara's forehead and he stumbled back. Izuna looked to see Tobirama and Hashirama both on the ground unconscious, but undoubtedly alive and breathing again. Madara staggered and then collapsed and Izuna quickly caught him and laid him on the ground as his eyes closed in unconsciousness. Naruto nodded and then flashed away and reappeared with the other two unconscious people. Make sure they don't wake up and kill each other. I'm helping Sarutobi. Izuna nodded and sat down, watching the unconscious people as Naruto flashed away in a streak of yellow. He would watch them. Naruto flashed next to Sarutobi. Don't you dare, old man. I know what you're planning and I don't like it. It's the only way to make sure he's dead for good. I don't like it. But sensei. No, I refuse. Do not do it, Sarutobi. If he lives, I will hunt him down later, but I don't want to lose you. Just then Onoki attacked them and Naruto dodged it and then sped forward, attacking back in the yellow flash he feared. He heard, "Sorry sensei," behind him and then felt a chill and he closed his eyes in sorrow. Sarutobi was doing it. It was already too late. The best he could do was take out Onoki. He heard Orochimaru scream and then he was upon Onoki. The man's eyes widened and Naruto smirked. What? Do I remind you of my dear deceased father? I should. I got this technique from him. Onoki cursed and dodged as Naruto's fist smashed into the roof, creating a crater. He charged again, drawing Shirayuki. He heard Orochimaru scream again and Onoki's eyes widened before the barrier dropped. He looked around. I surrender. I'll leave. Naruto nodded. Go. I must mourn the death of my student. Onoki was gone quickly and Naruto turned to see two still forms on the ground. He sighed and went over to see that they were Orochimaru and Sarutobi, both dead. He turned away from Orochimaru and turned to Sarutobi with a sigh of sadness. Oh, you foolish boy. I said no. When the three previously dead men woke up, they had been moved. Madara was in the Uchiha's main house with his brother and the two Senjus were in the Senju's main house with Naruto. Tobirama was the first to wake and it was to two sets of light breathing. He opened his eyes and blinked a few times, before he looked around. His brother was on his right side, sleeping peacefully, dressed in a white sleeping yukata and loose white pants. He himself was also wearing the same, though their armor was off to the side with a familiar-looking katana. Shirayuki was sitting with their armor. He looked to his other side to see Naruto asleep on the futon next to him, still fully dressed and slumped against the wall, like he'd been watching them and passed out. He quietly sat up, pushing the blanket off of him, before he stood and crept over to his son. He reached forward and gently touched Naruto's cheek, making sure this was real and his son was alive, as were they. His fingers met warm skin and then red and blue eyes opened and focused on him, before widening. Dad? You're awake. Shush, Hash isn't yet. Naruto stopped and then spoke in a whisper. I was waiting for you to wake up, but it's been 2 days and I fell asleep. Tobirama's eyes widened. You're still wearing your battle clothes from 2 days ago? You could have left us and at least gotten new clothes on. And you've barely slept. What are you thinking? I wanted to make sure that the seal worked properly, so I was waiting until you woke up. Tobirama's fierce gaze softened at his son's reasoning and then he wrapped his arms around him and hugged him tightly. It did and I'm glad. I've missed you. It was horrible when you died and when we got your body back, it was terrible. I almost didn't recognize you. Naruto stiffened as the arms wrapped around him and then relaxed and practically melted into his father's warm grip. He sighed in relief and contentment and then they were both enveloped in a bear hug and they looked up to see a smiling Hashirama wrapped around them both. Naruto chuckled weakly. You're still the same, Uncle Hash. Such a hugger. Hashirama's smile grew. Yup. And now I get you both back. I'm so glad. Tobirama rolled his eyes and then Hashirama let them go and sat back, literally vibrating in happiness. Naruto chuckled again. Yup, definitely the same. Nice to know. Now, Dad, he might be an imposter. I mean, he just willingly hugged someone. Tobirama bopped him upside the head. Hey. Naruto laughed. I'm just kidding. Tobirama grumbled and Hashirama hid his laughter, rather badly. Naruto suddenly shot up and then spun to his dad with a fierce scowl. By the way, if you kill Izuna again, I will personally rip you a new one. You understand? Tobirama looked at him in confusion. Izuna? As in Izuna Uchiha? Yes. He came back and don't you kill him again. I will never forgive you. Tobirama winced. You're still mad about that? Yes. And then he turned to Hashirama. And you, don't you go killing Madara either. He went into his revenge spree when his brother died and since Izuna's back, he's spoken with him. Hashirama's smile could replace the sun. Madara's alive and not insane? Yay. Tobirama scowled. Damn Uchihas. Dod. Yeah, I won't attack them. Good. Naruto suddenly brightened up. Now who's hungry? I've got ramen because I can't cook worth shit and there's a ramen store nearby. Tobirama snorted. You still can't cook? No, I've been staying with Izuna and he's an excellent cook. Now I shall have to survive on ramen once more. You've been living with an Uchiha? Yes, I have. Got a problem with it? Tobirama shook his head quickly as Naruto seemed grow with killer intent. Nope. None. No problem. Naruto became sweet and innocent again. Oh good. Now get dressed while I take a shower and change. And he left. Hashirama looked at Tobirama and shuddered. Your son is still just as terrifying, if not more. Tobirama nodded, also shuddering. I agree. He scares the shit out of me. Madara woke up about the same time as the other two, but in a different location. He woke to light breathing and he tried to move, only to find a heavy weight curled up on his arm and tucked into his side. He looked down to see Izuna passed out on his arm, breathing lightly, with his hair splayed underneath him. He stopped moving as Izuna groaned and shifted, not wanting to wake his brother up. His brother. He couldn't believe that he finally had his precious little brother back. He had gone for revenge because his brother had been killed, But now that he had his brother back, it all seemed silly now. He had Izuna now and that's what mattered. Izuna moved again and then groaned and opened his eyes groggily. He blinked a few times and Madara just watched him until he was moving on his own. He sat up and yawned, rubbing his eyes. Once he was done, he looked down at Madara to see him awake and his eyes lit up. "Ni-san. You're awake, finally. It's been 2 days." Madara smiled. "Yes, I'm awake, Zuzu. Thank goodness. I was worried." With this, the younger Uchiha threw himself around Madara's waist and hugged him tightly. "I'm so glad that you changed your mind. If you had still been on for revenge, I would have had to have Naruto just undo the jutsu and return you to the pure world." Madara's smile turned soft and he hugged his little brother back. "I'm glad too. You've certainly kept up your training though, to be able to keep up with me, even just an impure resurrection. I've been training with Naruto and he's a good fighter too, so we've both progressed." Izuna sat up, letting him go and smiling. "Ooh. Guess what? I learned some cool new jutsus too. And this life also has an older brother, but he's currently labeled a missing nin because he's spying on an evil organization and he wanted everyone to think he was bad. But he's not. He's cool too, but not as cool as you." Madara chuckled. "Whoa, slow down, Ototo. I just woke up from being dead." Izuna chuckled sheepishly. "Oops, I forgot. I'm just so excited to have you back." Madara smiled and looked down to see himself in a black sleeping yukata and Izuna in the same, though they both had loose black pants underneath the long tops. He looked back up at Izuna to see him brushing his hair back for a ponytail. He stopped him though and took his hair gently, brushing his fingers through it like he used to and then putting the ribbon in it in a low ponytail. "There." Izuna smiled. "Thanks, Ni-san." Madara chuckled. He was glad he had his excitable little brother back. The 3 senjus went through the village in a slow walk, observing the downtrodden villagers and shinobi alike. Naruto sighed. Sarutobi used the Reaper summoning to end Orochimaru once and for all. He died in the battle. His funeral is tomorrow. Hashirama sighed. He was always too noble. Tobirama nodded. That he was. "Say Naruto, did you mention something about a 5th Hokage?" Naruto lit up. "Yeah, I did." He pulled out a sealing scroll and the 2 older males watched in curiosity as he pressed his finger on it and there was a puff of smoke. He withdrew the cloak and hat and then put them on, hooking the cloak with the orange ribbon and putting on the hat. "It's me." Hashirama and Tobirama smiled. Before Tobirama spoke, "Congratulations Naruto." "Yeah, ooh, we're a group of Hokages. That's so cool." Hashirama chuckled. "That we are." They reached Ichiraku's and Naruto sat down. "Oi, Tuchi Jiji. 2 porks and a miso." "Right away, Naruto. Who's with you?" "My family members." Tuchi came out and his eyes widened in shock. Shodem-sama, Nidame-sama, and Naruto, you're the Godem?" "Yup." Tuchi smiled. "Congratulations on achieving your dream. These are on the house." "Thanks Tuchi Jiji. This is my uncle Hash and my dad." Tuchi smiled. "Yes, I'm glad you got at least one of your families back." "That's nice." Naruto nodded. "Yeah, and Izuna got his family back too." "Izuna? The Uchiha? I thought his name was Sasuke." "He's the same as me, a reincarnation. He's actually Izuna Uchiha, as in Madara Uchiha's little brother?" "Yup, but if he got his family back, Madara is alive again?" "Yeah, but he promised to be a good guy now." Tuchi sighed in relief. "Thank goodness. Now, 2 porks and a miso? Just give me a moment and I'll have them ready." Tsunade was helping at the hospital with a full mind. She hadn't seen Naruto since before the battle with Orochimaru, and it had been 2 days and she was worried. She had heard that Sarutobi died. The village was in a state of mourning, but she'd heard no word on Naruto so far. She finished with her patient and then stepped outside for her break. She was drinking some water when arms wrapped around her. "Suhime-chan. I came to say hi." She spun and bopped him upside the head. "I love you, dear uncle, but you've worried the hell out of me." Naruto rubbed his head with a pout. "Hey, I was busy." "Ooh, I got you a present." She eyed him warily. "What is it?" He smiled brightly. "Close your eyes." "No, please, I promise you won't get hurt." She eyed him and he looked at her with puppy dog eyes, before she huffed and then sighed. "Fine." She closed her eyes and she felt someone approaching, but Naruto's hands covered her eyes and she couldn't open them. She suddenly felt a bone-crushing hug and she gasped, "Can't breathe." She froze as she heard the next voice, Haim. Yay, Naruto found you. I wanted a hug. Naruto's hands moved and she opened her eyes and looked down to see arms clothed in black wrapped around her tightly, and she felt her back pressed against someone's chest while long hair tickled her neck. She was shaken and then spun, and she was met with someone she thought long dead, her grandfather. Hashirama scrutinized her and then smiled brightly. Haim. I came back. Her jaw dropped and she looked at Naruto to see that he had someone behind him as well, also someone she thought dead, her great uncle Tobirama. Naruto smiled. I got the family back. You said that you wanted them. How? It was actually Orochimaru with the impure resurrection jutsu. I just created a counter seal that also brought their souls to stay here as live people. Hashirama hugged her again, using her like a teddy bear, and Naruto snickered. He was rather glad to see you, as you can tell. She glared at him. You had to stick him on me. Oh, you cannot tell me that you're not glad. She sighed. You're right. I'm glad. Tobirama smiled. We knew you would be. Naruto was the one that knew where you were at. Hashirama wouldn't stop bugging until we came to see you. Tsunade snorted. I can see that. Hashirama smiled brightly and finally let her go. You've grown so big. The best medic in the elemental nations, and it's my princess. She looked at her grandfather. Yes, I picked a field and excelled in it, but I can still fight. Don't get me wrong, there's not many who can beat me. Tobirama chuckled. I know someone who can beat you. She looked at him and saw him pointing at Naruto, who was smiling. She rolled her eyes. I know that. I've never been able to beat Uncle Naruto. Naruto snickered. And you never will, Suhime-chan. Madara and Izuna were eating breakfast when there was a tentative knock on their front door. Izuna stood. I'll get it, Ni-san. Madara eyed him. Be careful. Izuna rolled his eyes. I can handle myself, Ni-san. Madara grunted and Izuna went to the door and cracked it open to see Naruto there with a smile, for some reason, dressed in his Hokage clothes. What do you need, Naruto? Can I come in? Yeah, watch my brother though. He's still mad at your dad and you know him and his random revenge sprees. Naruto chuckled and stepped inside. I see. I just came to check on you guys, make sure the seal worked for everyone. Oh, okay. Yeah, it worked. He's eating in the kitchen. Who's there, Zuzu? Naruto snickered. He still calls you that? Izuna grabbed him and gave him a noogie. Got a problem with it? Naruto grabbed at his hand. Oi. Stop it. Izuna let him go and they heard footsteps. Zuzu? Madara stepped into the entryway and his eyes locked on Naruto, who was putting his hat back on. You're Tobirama to me's brat. Naruto fixed his hat with a huff and brushed off his clothes. Yes, I am. Madara got a glint in his eyes that Izuna recognized and he face-palmed. No revenge sprees, Ni-san. I'll get revenge for Izuna and kill you. Then I'll get that bastard back. Ni-san. No. Hashirama was tending his garden when he heard yelling quickly approaching. He looked up to see a laughing Naruto running top speed through the village, holding his hat on. Behind him was Madara with an evil glint, holding 2 broken pieces of wood and chasing the Senju. Izuna was behind his brother with an exasperated look. No Ni-san. Bad Madara. No revenge sprees. Hashirama watched all this in slight shock and then his face split into a grin and he fell to the ground, clutching his sides as he rolled around laughing. Tobirama came out at his brother's laughter. What's so funny? Ha, bad Madara. Like a dog. His laughter picked up and Tobirama's eyebrow rose. What? Tsunade was soon met with the same sight and she just sighed and returned to healing her patient. Madara was still the same and her uncle was obviously just messing around like usual. Danzo heard screaming and laughter and he looked up to see his old teacher cackling while an angry Madara chased him, wielding 2 pointy pieces of wood and the so-called last Uchiha, following the other Uchiha, shouting for him to stop. No, bad Madara ni, what did I say about revenge sprees? Then they were gone. Danzo rubbed his eyes and shook his head. Nothing was ever normal with his old sensei. Finally Izuna caught up to Madara and bopped him on the head, before taking the wood pieces away. Bad Madara. I said no revenge sprees. Madara pouted and rubbed his sore head. But, Zuzu. No. Bad. You're grounded. No dango for a week. Madara's face became horrified. No. You can't take away my dango. You demon. Naruto snickered and then hid behind Izuna. He stuck his head out and blew a raspberry at the older Uchiha. So ungrateful. I'm the one that brought you back. You'd be back in the pure world if not for my sealing expertise. Madara grumbled something about damn senjus and crossed his arms, and Izuna eyed him. What was that, Ni-san? Madara edged away from his brother's now glowing red eyes. I said thank you. You better have. Madara shrunk under his angry brother, and then suddenly Izuna was happy again as he turned to Naruto. You bring him? Naruto snickered again. Yup, I give it about 5 seconds. Madara looked confused. What are you? Mata-chan. Madara's eyes widened. Oh god. You brought him? How could you do that? I'll be squeezed to dia-oof. He was cut off as Hashirama busted through the door and grabbed him in a bone-crushing bear hug. Mata-chan. Yay. Madara wheezed for breath while the younger two ninjas snickered at his predicament. Hashirama just hugged him tighter and shook him back and forth, and Madara turned blue from lack of oxygen. He finally fell limp, and Izuna chuckled. He totally deserved that. But we should rescue him before your uncle crushes him. Naruto sighed. Yeah, alright. He looked up. Oi. Uncle Hash, I think you killed him. Hashirama yelped and abruptly let go, and Madara fell to the ground gasping for breath, still knocked out. Izuna poked his brother with a toe and then shrugged. Hashirama still hadn't noticed that Madara was breathing and was freaking out. Oh my god. I didn't mean to kill him again. It was just a hug. I was so happy to see him. Naruto chuckled. He's still alive, but you knocked him out with lack of oxygen and I needed you to let him go. Hashirama stopped waving his hands and looked down at the elder Uchiha, sighing in relief. Oh good. I was worried. Naruto smiled and nudged Madara. Get up. When he didn't respond, Naruto smirked and knelt down next to his ear. I'm going to let Hashirama use you as a teddy bear for a week. Madara immediately shot up with wide eyes and a scream. No. He looked around and sighed. Oh good, it was just a nightmare. He shuddered and Naruto stood back up with a satisfied smile. Hashirama rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Oops. I didn't mean to knock you out, Mata-chan. I'm sorry? Madara glared at him. I think you broke a few ribs crushing me. Hashirama immediately fell into a bout of depression at the Uchiha's mad words. He knelt and held his knees with one arm while he drew a tree in the dust with his other hand. A little rain cloud formed over his head and actually rained on him, getting him wet as he pouted and muttered about meanie Uchihas. Izuna's eyebrow rose. He's still doing the random bouts of depression? Naruto sighed. Yes, unfortunately. Madara grimaced at Hashirama's downtrodden look and then stood and walked over to the senju, sitting down next to him. Hashirama kept muttering and drawing, and Madara groaned and patted his back awkwardly. It okay. I'm not mad anymore. He frowned and batted at the rain cloud. How is there actual water? Naruto started laughing and Hashirama hugged Madara again, not as tightly, making the rain cloud go away. Madara sighed, resigned to his fate, but at least he wasn't getting crushed this time. When the elder Senju was done with his hugging, he pulled away and looked at Izuna, holding out his arms. I want hugs from everybody. Madara's eyes widened as Izuna shrugged and went forward. No, Zuzu.